Results may vary.
WTMJ's John Mercure here. Join me as we count down to the RNC in Milwaukee. We'll talk to the biggest names across the political landscape. Ronna McDaniel, she is the chair of the Republican National Committee.
The American public really wants to see what Republicans are putting forward and what our plan is to turn the tide.
Full podcast available on WTMJ.com or text RNC to the Old National Bank talk and text line 855-616-1620 and get a link sent directly to you. It's the countdown to the RNC podcast, only here on WTMJ.
Goldie Schmidt is going to find that these pitches won't be too high, not too low, but just right.
Goldschmidt swings and misses. A curveball struck him out.
The Brew Crew pay another visit to the Cardinals with coverage starting tonight at 6:10. News Radio 620 WTMJ Milwaukee.
12 o'clock, we have 65 degrees, mostly sunny today with a high 68 lakeside, 73 inland. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Connie Weber. $600 million is the combined local and state ask from the Wisconsin legislature as part of a new proposal aimed at paying for improvements to American Family Field and keeping the Brewers in Milwaukee until 2050.
That $600 million will come from both a $400 million state contribution, largely raised by players' salary taxes, and a $7.5 million annual kick in from the city of Milwaukee and Milwaukee County. Saukville Representative Robert Brooks said the plan would also make the ballpark a year-round facility.
This will be a year-round facility that can maintain a 70-degree temperature even when it's 10 below outside.
Assembly Speaker Robin Voss added the deal would lock the team into Milwaukee through the term of the lease.
This agreement requires an ironclad commitment from the Brewers that they cannot leave until 2050.
Adam Roberts, WTMJ News.
Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson has expressed concern for the city's contribution amount given the recent sales tax increase. Governor Tony Evers has not commented on the new proposal. Abortion services now being performed again in Wisconsin at 2 Planned Parenthood clinics in Madison and Milwaukee.
The move coming amid an ongoing court battle over the 1849 ban on abortions, drawing reactions from both sides of the political debate. Wisconsin Right to Life Legislative Chair Gracie Skagman.
We actually have pro-life bills that will be in a Senate committee just this week.
On the pro-choice side, Reproductive Justice Action Milwaukee is holding a celebratory rally at the Milwaukee County Courthouse this evening. Outreach Chair Carly Klein.
Those medical providers are being extremely brave to be able to open their doors.
Wyatt Barmore-Pooley, WTMJ News.
Illinois becomes the first state to end cash bail.
Today is the day that we stop criminalizing poverty.
In Chicago, Illinois House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch claims they are ending a system that keeps people in jail solely because they lack resources. Under the Pretrial Fairness Act, if a judge decides a defendant doesn't pose a public safety risk, they'll be released without being required to post any money. Democratic State Rep Justin Slaughter.
This is about accountability. This is about fairness. This is about equity.
The bill was held up by conservatives, but was given the green light from the state Supreme Court last week. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
5 Americans have been freed from Iranian custody today in a deal that has sparked some criticism.
President Biden is celebrating the release of 5 Americans detained by Iran, saying in a statement that they will soon be reunited with their loved ones, quote, after enduring years of agony, uncertainty, and suffering. The president says he's grateful to the U.S. partners at home and abroad for the tireless work to achieve this outcome, singling out the governments of Qatar, Oman, Switzerland, and South Korea. President Biden says that reuniting wrongfully detained Americans with their loved ones is a top priority for his administration, and notes there are still many unjustly held in Russia, Venezuela, Syria, and elsewhere around the world. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
Hunter Biden is suing the IRS. The son of President Biden alleges IRS agents illegally disclosed his tax return information. This comes just days after Biden was indicted on federal gun charges. Today marks National Voter Registration Day. Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson on the importance of casting a ballot.
Milwaukee cannot afford to lose its voice in state and national elections in that conversation. Our voices and experiences are valuable, and more importantly, they matter. The only way to have influence in the decisions being made is to participate in our democracy.
As of September 1st, the city of Milwaukee has over 270,000 registered voters, under 50% of its population, according to the 2020 census. A 24-12 fourth quarter cushion, not enough for the Packers in Atlanta. The Falcons outscore the Packers 13-0 in the final 15 minutes to pull off a 25-24 win. Packers played without their 2 most dynamic offensive weapons and, curiously, their starting left tackle.
Shortly after Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles tendon 1 week ago, Packers left tackle David Bakhtiari blasted the NFL for continuing to use turf fields. Bakhtiari, a late addition to the injury report, did not dress Sunday in Atlanta, a game played on turf, not grass. Coincidence?
No.
That's Matt LaFleur. So he'll play this Sunday on the grass at Lambeau then.
I'm not going to get into it. We all know this has been 2 years now. It's probably going to be like this from here on out.
Bakhtiari spent the better part of 2 years rehabbing a torn ACL, suffered in December of 2020. Greg Natzik, WTMJ Sports.
Two of the four teams in the NFC North now 1-1. The Bears and Vikings are 0-2. Time for news about your money. The WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. The Dow is up 100 points right now. The S&P 500 is up 12 and the Nasdaq is up 31. It's time for your retirement and investment strategy review from a fee-only fiduciary. Go to annexwealth.com and click the Get Started button today. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 12:04.
This report is brought to you by Rejuvenix, your non-surgical joint therapy experts.
Alleviate your pain, rejuvenate your life.
Rejuvenix Arthritis Clinics are in-network with most major insurance plans, including Medicare and Medicaid, and there have been thousands of patients that have received our pain relief treatment with zero out-of-pocket expense. Our FDA-approved treatments we'll use to remedy your pain are precisely guided to its root, to provide inflammation and cushioning relief to alleviate pain. What ends up happening is you begin on a pain maintenance plan, and how committed you want to be to alleviating your pain is up to you. But at the least, you can see us semi-annually to annually to, in many cases, significantly reduce pain in hips, shoulders, elbows, and knees. I'm Richard Salinas, registered nurse with Rejuvenix Arthritis Pain Clinics. We can alleviate your pain, and that'll rejuvenate your life. It's pain relief, really. Go to rejuvenix.com to request your appointment.
Rejuvenix.
It's ESPN Wisconsin's Greg Scalzo for Smart Spaces. How can Smart Spaces transform your business?
The technology frustrations we hear about, hands down, ease of use.
We take that complexity out of it and keep it down to the bare minimum of what they need and what they use.
Our goal is to lend a level of simplicity that any knowledge level can walk into that room and at a glance know exactly how to turn that room on and utilize all of its features.
Let Smart Spaces transform your business today. Visit smartspaceswi.com.
This is Matt Meitner, owner of Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Do you find yourself talking to your dog but feel like she's not listening to you?
Bella, sit!
Are you constantly repeating yourself but she's not following your directions?
Sit! Sit!
Frustrating, isn't it? At Sit Means Sit Dog Training, we want to help you have a happy, confident, and obedient dog, and we also want to make the training process an enjoyable and worthwhile experience. Contact Sit Means Sit today to schedule a free consultation so we can create a customized training program so you are able to have the dog you want and deserve.
Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Sorry, we don't train husbands, wives, or kids.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update. Of course, the Packers fell to Atlanta 25-24 yesterday. They're now 1-1. The Brewers dropped their series finale 2-1 to Washington. They're now 6.5 games up on Chicago in the National League Central race. Magic number was 7. They take on the Cardinals tonight. Coverage begins at 6:10 right here on WTMJ. Time to check your roads now with your Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver traffic. No major delays. There is still a slight delay. I-94 eastbound from Highway 16 to the Zoo interchange. It's usually about an 11-minute drive. It's just going to take you a couple of extra minutes. 43 northbound from the Marquette interchange to Brown Deer Road, running about 11 minutes. And 94 southbound from the Marquette interchange to Layton Avenue, about a 6-minute commute this afternoon.
Traffic is sponsored by Harwood Place Senior Living. Learn more about Harwood Place Retirement Living's newly renovated apartments and updated pricing options at their October 4th wine and cheese tasting. RSVP or schedule a tour at harwoodplace.org.
Your WTMJ 5-day forecast: sunshine today, high 68 to 73 inland. Then increasing clouds tonight, a slight chance for showers later on, a low 57. Chance for showers tomorrow, cloudy and 70. Slight chance on Wednesday, partly cloudy, a little bit warmer with a high of 80. Thursday and Friday, sunny and warm, high Thursday 83, 84 on Friday. Madison right now 68, Green Bay 64, Milwaukee 65 degrees. I'm Connie Weber, Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 12:08.
Live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue, it's the Jeff Wagner Show. Come join the conversation on the Old National Bank talk and text line at 855-616-1620. Old National Bank. Get old. Now, filling in for Jeff Wagner, here's Tracy Johnson.
Good afternoon, Wisconsin. I'm Tracy Johnson, in for Jeff Wagner on this Monday. I was talking to Sandy Max and Peggy Williams-Smith, who were in for the Steve Scafidi show, Steve Scafidi and Sandy Max show, which is Wisconsin Now. And I said, I usually don't fill in on Mondays. This is kind of a new thing for me. There's so much happening, and usually it's like towards the end of the week, so we keep it a little bit lighter, and there's a lot of stuff happening. But I don't know about you, I love this time of year, not only the fall colors and kind of the cooler temperatures, but there seems to be more rigidity and structure. I've got my kids back in school. People are done with vacations. They're easier to get a hold of. You can kind of get the deals going. And for those of you who don't know, I work in the commercial real estate space. I work for an association of commercial realtors, which is an honor and a pleasure. It keeps me plugged in to all kinds of things that are happening in our state and our community. And we're going to bring some of that to you today during the course of the next 3 hours. So I love the Packers. I'm a Packers fan. And I am so excited about this season that I think a lot of us are going to be pleasantly surprised, despite the loss this weekend to the Falcons. I think the Packers were fun to watch. They were in the game. And oh, by the way, they're still better than the Chicago Bears. So I think we will have a great season to look forward to. And don't look now, the Brewers are hot, man. 6.5 games up in the division, and we could have a championship team on our hand. It's certainly a great time to be a Wisconsin sports fan. But I'm teasing ahead to a couple topics we're going to talk about during the show today. As we heard over the weekend, the United Auto Workers began their selective strikes. And right now, the automakers, the GM, the Ford, Stellantis, they are striking back. We're going to talk about that in the broader context of what's happening with the Writers Guild and how that strike is going. And do these unions and do these strikes really make a difference in the new day and age? And in Washington, Congress tries to avoid a shutdown. But the two leading candidates for president on the Republican side are saying, shut it down. Both Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis say, shut this down. I think this is a bad idea, even though so many workers that would be affected and so many things that would be disrupted will be deemed essential. And so the economy will continue to go on. We're going to talk about this in the context of the second presidential debate, which is coming up next week, September 27th. And then we learned that Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky will be in Washington this week as the lawmakers grapple with funding for a continuing resolution. They're looking at appropriations bills as well as a national budget. So the Fed, too, will be meeting this week, and they'll be talking about yet another rate increase. All signs point to the fact that we will not get a rate increase, but we will see more down the road. And then this, developers announced plans to develop over 900 apartments around Mayfair Mall. So I don't know if you heard this last week. Rick Barrett Low Development in the city of Wauwatosa announced this massive development project that would bring 900 apartments and I don't know how many people, over 1,000 people in those dwellings. So what are the logistics of bringing that many people into a community of less than 50,000 residents? What's the impact on the infrastructure, on the schools, on the surrounding retail? We will discuss. Again, we're here till 3 o'clock today. Samantha is in the booth producing, and I invite you to be a part of the show on the Old National Bank talk and text line. That's 855-616-1620. So we're going to start here. In case you missed it this morning, and there has been fabulous reporting by WTMJ reporter Adam Roberts, I believe, the announcement of the Milwaukee Brewers financing deal. So this was leaked on Friday, and we don't know where that leak came from, but it was officially announced at 10 o'clock this morning. The deal that would pay for the repairs and some upgrades to American Family Field was announced by Brewers leadership, Rick Schlesinger, and ownership, $700 million. The deal that we learned was structured very much like the Milwaukee Bucks stadium package, and I have some familiarity with that deal. It includes a combination of city, county, state money, no new money or taxes, no surplus money that Governor Evers' plan had laid out, but revenue generated by the team itself in the form of income tax. The city and county would offer $200 million and the state $400 million. But here is what a lot of the naysayers were looking for. It's that the Brewers ownership would pay $100 million or so. And this is new news. And many people said, let those billionaires pay. They're making money off the team. But, we've refuted this time and time again. The Brewers are tenants in this stadium. They are tenants. They have a deal that's good through 2030. And in the lease deal, it says that the stadium district, who owns American Family Field, would be responsible for the upkeep and the update. So let's move beyond that and say, how do we move forward? This deal that the legislature has put together and has presented would extend the lease to 2050. So we would be guaranteed to have a team here for another 25 years. This is a good thing. And throughout the course of that time, we would be generating revenue for the state. We would be generating revenue for the Brewers. This, I think, is good news. Now, recall that the governor had initially put a proposal for $230 million in the budget, and that was stripped away by the legislature during the state budgeting process. This was money that would be taken out of the surplus. So I think this deal is a better deal, what we have now, because it generates new income. We are not taking money from something else. This is money that would follow the team if they were to leave. This money would not be here if it weren't for the Milwaukee Brewers. And I haven't seen a lot of the feedback given these new kind of components that Brewers ownership would be contributing and that this would extend the lease to 2050. But is this a good deal for the taxpayers of Wisconsin? Is this $700 million deal, $600 million in taxpayer dollars, a good deal? I don't think this is the final deal, but this will surely run into opposition. We heard city and state leaders already questioning the numbers. They've already started questioning and kind of hearkening back to their original comments about, we're not going to contribute any money. We're not going to contribute any money. We can barely pay for our own services. We just had to increase sales tax. So how are we going to contribute and how are we going to pay for this? Well, you have to look at the mechanics of the funding. This money would be gone if we didn't have the Brewers here. And I think this is a start. And the fact that the ownership is coming forward with the money has to take some of this objection off the table. But what do you think? On the Old National Bank talk and text line, it's 855-616-1620. This isn't about keeping the Brewers here. I know there are people on the extreme sides that said, let them go. We don't need them. These people are, full of themselves. I don't want to hear about that. But is this a good deal? Yes, there are a lot of nuances in the funding. Yes, there are a lot of details to be unpackaged. But generally speaking, we're talking about state money. We're talking about city money, county money. And, oh, by the way, ownership would be kicking in. This is a perfect example of going back to the table and renegotiating terms of a lease to move forward to ensure that sustainability. But is this a good deal? 855-616-1620 on the Old National Bank talk and text line. Your reaction, your calls when we return. I'm Tracy Johnson in for Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
WTMJ's Jeff Wagner.
We cannot allow our cities to become Lord of the Flies, and that is precisely what is happening. I would say I hate to say I told you so, but I did in fact tell you so. Throw the book at him, for goodness sakes. I always want to try to avoid being Grandpa Simpson, the get off my lawn, and kids weren't like that in my day. But the truth of the matter is, kids weren't like that in my day.
Weekdays from noon to 3 on WTMJ.
Now, about your house. Eric Brown is the president of Siding Unlimited, your contractor for new windows, roofing, siding, decks, and a whole lot more. He knows about your house. So what do you know, Eric?
Do you have new siding and now you just want to keep it looking great? There are a couple things that come to mind when maintaining a beautiful home exterior. The first is just a good old cleaning. We recommend that you use a hose or a very light setting on your pressure washer to spray the dust off your siding. Don't force the water onto the siding very hard because water could get behind the siding and cause damage. Your home may or may not have a weather barrier behind the siding, and using high pressure water could cause problems. Definitely clean your siding to keep it looking beautiful, but don't get crazy and wash it off the building. Another quick tip to avoid siding issues comes with our favorite summer activity, grilling out. As much fun as it is to try different grilling recipes, using the grill too close to the home could result in some unforeseen disasters. When you use your grill, make sure it is away from the home. I like to make sure it is at least 7 feet from the house. If you have vinyl siding, the results of the grill being too close can be obvious, melted siding. However, if you have siding that won't melt, the heat from the grill could cause issues with the siding's paint or radiate through the siding and cause issues with the insulation, wiring, plumbing, or anything else in the wall that the heat could disturb. When you get new siding that is going to last a lifetime, just a few house cleaning tips can go a long way in preserving your beautiful home. Oh yeah, and keep the weed whacker away from the siding too. That never ends well.
Eric and his crews at Siding Unlimited are your go-to contractor here for replacement windows, roofing, decks, and, of course, siding. They are the best, as acknowledged by the many rewards their suppliers have conferred upon them. Now, take the next step. Check them out at sidingunlimited.com. Siding Unlimited. Siding and a whole lot more.
Now and in there, 1 ball and no strikes. Swing and a drive to right and deep. Get up! Get up! Get out of here! Gone for Daniel Vogelbach. He just hit a walk-off grand slam home run.
All right, grand slam home run. Is this new deal that we saw from Brewers ownership, the legislature, for $700 million for American Family Field repairs, upgrades, extension of the lease. Is this a good deal? 855-616-1620 is the Old National Bank talk and text line. 262 says it should be considered a win-win. And yes, I agree. And I think that there are still some questions out there, and I still think that there is room for negotiation. Listen, if it weren't for Governor Evers, we wouldn't really even have a place to start, right? He was the one who came to the table and said, let's find a way to pay for this with the surplus, $230 million surplus that we have in this, or $4 billion state surplus, so $230 million from the surplus. So that was a starting point. Then you have, you kind of churned through the PR and the reaction from the fans, and you start to learn more about the deal. You start to look at really the details of the crumbling infrastructure and the aging infrastructure. Just this weekend, we heard that there was rain coming through the roof. I mean, we know what rain does to roofs. It doesn't get better as time goes on. And so now we have a deal, and is there an opportunity to make this deal even better? There's some concern from people who live outside Milwaukee County or the city of Milwaukee. What do they get out of it? How can we make this better, possibly with broadcasting? Is there an opportunity here? Because we all know it's difficult at times to really experience the Brewers if we don't have certain television channels or subscriptions. Scott from South Milwaukee, you're on WTMJ. Is this a good deal for Wisconsin taxpayers?
I would say from a macro level, the answer is yes. But from a micro level, I don't feel that it is justified that Milwaukee County and the city of Milwaukee be the only local taxing entities who have to make a financial contribution to the overall plan. Again, my take is that I would love to see numbers on this.
Yes,
but I would be willing to put money on that 30% of people who probably attend events at American Family Field probably reside in Waukesha County. I believe that it's time that, and if you look at cultural assets in Waukesha County that people are attracted to, that are major dollars, none of them exist. But the residents of Waukesha County, in Ozaukee County, whatever, expect Milwaukee County and the city of Milwaukee to foot the bills for all these major cultural assets, even though they take advantage of them. My proposal is that either they go back to the original 5 counties that paid the sales tax, because that's part of the Southeastern Wisconsin Regional Ballpark Commission. Either they go back to those 5 and they have to pay the 0.1% again. Whatever. If that issue is not gonna fly, then they go to a dollar ticket tax.
Yeah.
Again, I was at the Brewer game on Thursday afternoon. Announced attendance, whatever year to date was 2.3 million roughly. The Brewers roughly on an annual basis probably draw between 2.5 and 2.7 million. You add on other events that happen there, you're probably looking at at $3 million a year, whatever. Just if you add a $1 ticket tax.
Scott,
so my take is that
we need to do more. I get it. Scott, thanks for the call. I think Scott brings up some really good points. Right? This is only the second crack at this, and as somebody who's worked with some of the advocacy and talking points around this. This is going to die multiple times before we actually get a deal. And I think that hearing from the people on this deal is a really good thing. I mean, is there an opportunity for other entities to either contribute, or is there a way to draw out the enhanced benefits for the city of Milwaukee and Milwaukee County to make it more palatable? There's no doubt that Milwaukee County and the city of Milwaukee will benefit disproportionately than the rest of the state, perhaps those who are outstate, those who can't view it. So how do you make this a win-win? I think this is a start. We got a lot more text to get to. We'll cover those when we come back. If you want to weigh in on the Old National Bank Talk and Text line, it's 855-616-1620. I'm Tracy, in for Jeff.
Creative Planning presents Rethink Your Money with John Hagenson, Saturday afternoon at 1. Creative Planning is a wealth management firm that believes in a total approach to building wealth that includes taxes, insurance, estate planning, and other personalized elements. This approach allows you to receive advice that is aligned with your unique goals and always in your best interests. Why not give your wealth a second look? Visit creativeplanning.com.
Hi, I'm John McGivern. If you're looking for a Medicare plan with freedom and flexibility, choose a Network Health Medicare Advantage plan. Plans start as low as $0 a month with $0 doctor visits and $0 prescription drugs, plus vision, hearing, and dental benefits. For 40 years, Network Health has been a trusted expert in making health insurance affordable and understandable. Don't wait. Call 833-7-NETWORK today.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
No questions. I know your game, mattress boy.
What?
I ask one teensy question and you pounce and pressure me to buy a mattress you want me to buy, not one that I need to buy.
But
you salespeople are all alike. What are you looking for? Do you like your mattress soft or firm? I don't know!
Well,
Just back off, man!
Hasselus mattress showrooms are employee-free.
So I can
try and buy with no pushy sales guy.
Which means
way low prices on Sealy Posturepedic, Beauty Rest, and Serta Perfect Sleeper.
And
now through Monday, we'll give you an additional $200 off in instant savings.
$200 off.
Beauty Rest, Serta Perfect Sleeper, or Sealy Posturepedic.
No commission crazy salespeople?
Plus free next day delivery.
Okay then, I do have a question.
Shoot.
Where have you been my whole life?
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you or shop online at Hasselus.com.
Back to school time is here, and Griffin's Back to School Service Special is here to help.
For only $129.95, we'll change your oil, inspect and rotate your tires, check the battery and air filter, and give it a complete multi-point inspection. Plus, we'll make sure your AC is running smoothly and replace your wiper blades. Griffin, making car maintenance easy. Visit one of Griffin's 5 dealerships today.
We built this city. We built this city on rock and roll. Built this city. We built this city on rock and roll.
Welcome back on WTMJ. Well, we have a deal, ladies and gentlemen, at least one to consider, to upgrade the American Family Field Stadium and keep the Brewers here in Milwaukee until 2050. Now, I should mention that just a few weeks ago, we were talking about, a conversation that may have leaked where Brewers ownership said if we can't get a deal, we might have to look elsewhere. And I don't think that the Brewers ownership was sincere about that. I did find it interesting, though, as we start to look at that question and as we start to look at that consideration, that Brewers owner Mark Antanasio has a front row seat to what is happening with the Oakland Athletics. For those of you who are unfamiliar, the Oakland A's were trying to get upgrades and a financing package similar to what we're looking at, although probably very dissimilar, to upgrade the stadium, upgrade the facility, and stay in Oakland. Well, they couldn't reach a deal. And so Las Vegas, the city of Las Vegas, put together a proposal, and it looks like the Oakland A's are moving to Las Vegas. And the MLB commissioners and owners have set a date to take that final vote, which needs 75% of MLB owners to vote in favor. But what they'll be considering is the relocation package. So what does that look like, as they move the team and the branding and all of that? What does that really look like? Mark Antanasio is actually one of the committee leaders that's overseeing this decision. I thought that was really interesting. So he's got a front row seat to kind of the chaos and the damage, I believe, that losing a professional baseball team can have on a city. And I think we always knew that a deal would get done. We didn't know exactly what it would look like. We did have inklings that it would include a plethora of different funding sources, whether it was city, county, state. And now we see that Brewers ownership is going to be chipping in $100 million. We have some ideas about possibly raising the fee, which it's already expensive to go to a baseball game. It's already expensive to enjoy professional sports in our city. But is there something else or another component? Do the leaders in this city and the state have another card that they can play to get this across the finish line? And here's the deal. Not everyone is going to be happy with it. Not everyone is going to love it. But to think about losing a team and to think about overcomplicating this to the point that everyone just throws their hands in the air and says, this clearly people don't want us here. We are a baseball state. Having a professional baseball team here is crucial to our tourism. It is crucial to our national visibility. And you think about the economic impact and the damage that is done if we were just to say, all right, too many rich people, we don't want to deal with it. We already can't pay for the things that we need to. We can't pay for our pensions. We can't pay for our police force. So I think that we are going to continue to see this conversation evolve and make it better. Time usually kills deals, but I think in this instance, it's going to make it better. We've got some chips on the table, so let's move it forward. We're talking about $2.5 billion of economic impact that this team and having this stadium in our community has contributed to the state of Wisconsin. All the thousands of jobs and workers in and around the stadium. Think about the bars and restaurants that are alive and thriving. Whenever there's a baseball game in our city, at the stadium. You think about the television revenue. You think about the visibility for Milwaukee every time somebody from the Milwaukee Brewers does something phenomenal. And now look at our team. We're about to take the next step towards a potential championship. This is a big deal. And let's not also forget about all the other events that take place within those stadium walls. You've got concerts. You've got other events. They're a vital player in some of these conventions that are coming to town. I mean, this is real. And none of these events have to be canceled because of weather or because of rain. This is huge, huge, huge for our community. And I'm just thrilled that we at least have something on the table. Is this perfect? Not yet. Will this be perfect? Well, let's not let perfect be the enemy of good here. So when we come back, we're going to talk about how this deal and some of the things that the Brewers are talking about may be a good starting off point for another Milwaukee cultural asset. That is the Milwaukee Domes. I am Tracy Johnson in for Jeff Wagner here on WTMJ.
WTMJ's Vince Vitrano here for Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, a group of doctors I trusted with my knee surgery. The pain was real and options were important. My experience with each doctor was thorough, the appointments were timely, always close and easy access to the building. My mom felt the same way, I know, when she went there for her physical therapy appointments at Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. I trusted their surgical team for my knee surgery, and I know they'll take care of you the way they did my mom and me. Make an appointment at orthowisconsin.com.
When you come to Kendor Marine, you'll find parts you didn't even know you needed. And if you're a boating enthusiast, like I know you are, then you're going to love wandering the aisles here. We've staked our reputation on thinking just like you. So we know what you need now and what you're going to need later to keep your boat in tip-top shape. This is Dave Doro, and boaters in the know exactly where to go. Kendor Marine, 57th and Ryan Road in Franklin.
Hey boaters, cruise to Kendor Marine. We got everything you need but the water.
KendorMarine.com.
Hey boaters!
We have the go-to marine store. And it's not just because we have all the boat parts and supplies you'll ever need, including oddball parts you thought you'd never be able to find. And it's also because we're cheaper than the other guys too. So why shop anywhere else? This is Dave Doro from Kendor Marine. Boaters in the know exactly where to go. Kendor Marine, 57th and Ryan Road in Franklin.
Hey boaters, cruise to Kendor Marine. We got everything you need but the water.
Debbie Loziga here. I've been wanting to shade in my backyard for years, and now that dream is coming true thanks to my friends at Comfort Awnings located in Burlington. It's a local family-owned company that provides expert installation servicing southeast Wisconsin and northern Illinois. They came out to my house and walked me through the process, from different colors and fabrics, custom fit to my home's exterior and backyard. Right now, you can receive $250 off awnings and screens until the end of September. Call 414-AWNINGS for a free estimate or visit comfortawnings.com.
Welcome back on WTMJ. We've had a lot of texters reacting to, the whole $700 million to upgrade and modernize American Family Field. A lot of people forget that this was, over 20 years ago that this structure was built. It's mechanical. It's got technology. These things age and wear and need to be modernized. And so we have this deal on the table. But it got me thinking to kind of this whole Brewers enterprise. And one of the other announcements that now almost kind of is almost forgotten about. We're not really talking about it anymore, but that was the whole Northwestern Mutual patch announcement. So Northwestern Mutual is paying for the rights and the ability to have the Brewers players put the patch on the sleeve. And this was previously, before 2022, not allowed by the league. And so after 2022, teams were able to consider this as a way to generate revenue. And for those who talk about the stadium funding deal, I don't know if you've noticed, but costs have been increasing very, very quickly. And so with every year that passes, there is the need to increase this dollar amount. And so the needs continue to grow. And so this Northwestern Mutual patch sponsorship idea, I think, is a smart one. The Brewers are I believe, the 7th or 8th team to enter into an agreement with a sponsor. And it got me thinking about the conversation and the news that broke last week about the Milwaukee County domes, the Mitchell Park domes. These are the 3 domes located in Mitchell Park. You've got plants and flowers. You've got whole ecosystems that are developing, and it's open to the public. Obviously, there's a fee. And we saw some staggering numbers that were released by a study commission showing that that we have limited options when it comes to maintaining, upgrading, or even demolishing these structures. And it struck me that, we have to get to a point where these assets are literally falling apart before we take the opportunity to really evaluate their viability. And to give you an example, for those who don't remember, demolishing these domes would be somewhere between $5 and $6.5 million to just take these things down. Repairing could cost $30 million, with a total cost close to $91 million if they rebuild and upgrade everything. And so you're kind of left thinking, as a Wisconsinite, as a taxpayer, as a constituent, like, oh my God, like, no matter what we want to do here, we're going to have to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars. And so you had members of the county board say, let's take it to the voters, and, we should talk about a cultural tax and all. I mean, why don't we think about and take an example or a page from the Brewers or some of these other organizations that look for creative ways of funding or sponsorship to close that gap? Could there be an underwriting opportunity from Johnson Controls, or name a company that deals in HVAC or mechanical systems? Are we looking for creative ways to solve for these problems? And I tie that back to what the Brewers are trying to do to close some of these gaps in funding for the stadium, for the players, for all of the inflation that they don't want to necessarily pass on to the ticket holders. And so I think we have an opportunity to think a little more creatively. And we'll see if it gets done. I know this conversation about the Milwaukee Domes, I mean, some people have never been there. I've taken my kids there. I think it's a great cultural asset. It's definitely important for quality of life. But we're not very good at prioritizing here in this state sometimes when it comes to these cultural assets. We wait until they are literally going to fall down before we start to pay attention. And in many cases, that's just too late. When we come back, the first primary votes aren't even going to be cast until January of 2024. And we're gearing up for the second presidential debate next week. Why is this second debate even more important than the first debate that took place here in Milwaukee? We'll discuss when we return right here on WTMJ.
So if our mom was looking for a new sofa, what are the top things that you would recommend that she look for in a new sofa?
Ben and Arvid Huth, brothers and owners of Penny Mustard Furnishings.
Kid and pet-friendly fabrics. Sure. Eliminate headaches.
Yeah.
Eliminate spill problems. Clean it up. That stuff is so good nowadays.
I would say quality foam. You need a quality foam in there in order to last and the comfort to maintain.
Maybe the exact same thing, just explaining it a little different, is sit down on that sofa and make sure it feels good.
Sure.
Pretty is great, but it's got to be comfortable.
Yes.
When you're sitting in it and watching a 2-hour football game, you want to feel good.
Yep. And I would say a well-built frame, something that's structurally sound.
Yes.
And made in the USA. We make fantastic sofas in the United States. We always have and we always will. It's an easy way to sort poor quality from good quality.
Penny Mustard Furnishings. See more at pennymustard.com.
Did I mention quality foam?
I think you did.
Okay, good. I don't want to miss that.
It's an important one.
It's very important to me anyway. And it would be to mom.
It's David Nason from WTMJ's The Fix-It Show for hair construction. If your septic or mound system needs repair, residential or commercial, contact the team who specializes in them, Hair Construction. They have you covered. The friendly, knowledgeable staff at Hair Construction can guide you from a simple septic pumping all the way through an emergency repair or replacement. For all your septic needs, contact the experts at Hair Construction today, 262-968-2550, or find them online at haircorp.com. That's HERRcorp.com.
The Brewers pennant race is heating up. Make sure you have a spot when October comes around. Get first dibs at postseason tickets with your 2024 season ticket plan. Not only will you get first access to Brewers postseason tickets, but season seat holders only enjoy exclusive benefits, the best seats, big savings on tickets, exclusive rewards, and more. Place a deposit now to be a part of the postseason and beyond at brewers.com/season tickets.
Nature Valley welcomes you to Camp Classic, where all you need is a Nature Valley Oats and Honey Crunchy Bar. Are you a cautious cruncher, or do you throw crumbs to the wind? Grab an Oats and Honey Crunchy Bar to find out.
Here's a penny for your thoughts. There's about 11,000 tire-related crashes every year.
Mostly due to driving around on underinflated, beat-up, worn-out tires with low tread.
A couple of clicks at richlawns.com will get you scheduled for a free tire tread test.
But if you're pressed for time, there's an old trick we use in the tire industry that'll tell you if you need tires.
And that's free too.
My dad showed me, who learned it from his dad, who learned it from someone else way back in 1964.
Ah, yes. The old penny test.
Yep, just place a penny head first.
As in upside down.
Into the groove of your tire. Now, if you can see the top of Lincoln's head, you're due for tires.
And hey, if the free penny test frazzles you, book an appointment at richlawns.com.
If your tires are good,
no harm, no foul, because it won't cost you a penny. Be safe, buckle up, and hang. Always make sure you've got good tread on your tires. I'm Brett Matchke with Rich Lawns. You're
due for service.
Such a refreshing change. Rich Lawns. Just like fire, burning up the way. If I could light the world up for just one day. Watch this madness, colorful charade. No one can be just like me anyway.
Welcome back on WTMJ. I feel like there are a lot of people want to talk about the Brewers. And, I'll just close up by answering a couple of questions that came through. And we've got a lot of really great feedback. This is from the 920. Was it us or tax money part of the Fiserv deal? And as I am fairly familiar with that Fiserv funding deal that was done with the Milwaukee Bucks and all of that. And it was very similar in a sense that this was not revenue that was taken from somewhere else. This was revenue contributed through the taxing entities. And much of the money, most of the funding, is through that income tax that's generated by the players here in Milwaukee, that's generated by the players who are visiting from other teams. When you have these all-star players making millions and millions of dollars, a portion of that money from income tax goes to support the funding. Another texter from the 262 asked the question, how much do the Brewers pay each year to lease American Family Field? The answer to that is $1.2 million. Under the previous lease, which was constructed in the early 2000s, that number was $1.2 million. This new deal would take it to $1.8 million plus increases in contribution to that deferred maintenance and to some other funding done by the Brewers and their team. So, overall, I think that this is inspiring some conversation and some creativity. So that cannot be a bad thing. So moving on to the second presidential debate here coming up on the 27th. Many of you remember last month in August with Milwaukee, the Fiserv Forum was the scene, was the host of the first presidential debate. We had 8 or so candidates on the stage. Front runner Donald Trump was not there. We don't think he's going to be there at the second debate. It's going to be in Simi Valley, California. And when I was talking to Peggy Williams-Smith from the Milwaukee Convention and Visitors Bureau about this, she said that at this second debate, there will only be 700 people in the arena. And so to give that some context, in Milwaukee, there were somewhere around 5,000. And I had the great fortune and opportunity to be a part of that. And it was really, really incredible to feel the energy. But I think, we're trying to thin the herd here is the way that I look at it. So for the second debate, so far, 6 candidates have met the requirements. That would be 50,000 unique donors, including 200 donors in 20 or more states, 3% support in 2 national polls, a number of other criteria, including that the candidates who will be on stage will sign the pledge to support whoever the eventual Republican nominee is. And so far, 6 candidates have met those requirements. Those are Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, Tim Scott, and of course, Chris Christie. And we don't know about Donald Trump. He has indicated since early on that he doesn't plan to be a part of any of these debates, these conversations. So many of them are just, I get the sense that they are beneath him. Why does he have to come if he's so far in the lead? Let's just let these other people just fight amongst themselves. I don't know if that's a winning strategy in the long run. But hosting this debate will be Fox News once again and Univision, which is a Latino station. They will co-host the debate. It will be Stuart Varney. And so if you're familiar with Stuart Varney, he talks a lot about business and the economy. And then Dana Perino, who is a former George Bush press secretary. She is fabulous. When the Milwaukee debate was in town, I did have the chance to meet her, which was really, really, really cool. And they will co-host along with Univision's Ilya Calderon. And so I think it's really smart to kind of speak to different audiences, because obviously we've got all types of different voters kind of speaking out into that Latino community. The first debate in Milwaukee, which was incredible, I believe viewers, 13 million viewers tuned in for that. And I wonder if there would have been more viewers if Donald Trump would have been on the stage. We shall see what happens here in Simi, California. And I believe that this second debate is going to be even more consequential than the first debate was. Not only are we going to have fewer candidates on the stage, but we're going to have the opportunity to really test some of the talking points that were laid out as we try to discern and differentiate between those candidates who are on the stage. And even though the first Iowa caucus isn't until January, so that's when we're going to start to see voters officially say who they want to be their nominee for the Republican ticket. You know, we've got, I would say, a relatively short amount of time to figure this out and really go through some of these candidates and prioritize and say, who do we want on the Republican side of the ticket? And whether you're a Democrat or Republican, I think it is very important that whoever that candidate is qualified. They have something to share. They are able to engage in a productive discussion about our future. And it got me looking into the timing of all of this. And when should we expect to see some of these candidates maybe fall to the way? And if you recall, in 2016, for the 2016 primary, by this time in 2015, so September of 2015, September 11th actually, Rick Perry had dropped out. And by September 21st, Scott Walker had already dropped out. So with all that lead time, these were some of the first people to really weed out. And if you recall, in the 2016 Republican primary, there were 20 or so candidates. It was a huge, huge field. So you had a lot of winnowing to do. So, but this time around, I think we need to get there faster. We need to get there sooner rather than later. So really, we can really engage in this discussion. I think we really need to get there so we can get at the issues that the voters want to hear about. The economy, immigration, crime, international policy. These are such huge issues. And then the issue of abortion, which you don't hear a lot of the candidates talking about. It is not a winning issue for the Republicans, but it is the issue that the voters are going to be making decisions on. So who's going to be the first out? We already saw one candidate. It was Francisco Juarez. He's the mayor of Miami. He already has dropped out. So who's next? Who do we need to rise to the top so we can really have a real discussion? 855-616-1620 on the Old National Bank talk and text line. Who's going to be the first to go? And will this person be falling on the sword so that we can clear the field and have this debate? There are so many people on that stage who don't have a chance. And at some point, they're going to be taking away from the conversation rather than contributing towards it. Who is next to go from this field of candidates in the Republican National Convention primary? 855-616-1620 on the Old National Bank talk and text line. It is 12:53. I'm Tracy Johnson in for Jeff Wagner.
Hey, WTMJ's John Mercure here. Join me Saturdays at noon for one of my favorite shows. It's Experience Wisconsin. We'll check in with communities and organizations from across the state for the best and brightest, most fun family spots in Wisconsin. This week, we are joined by Lake Geneva and Milwaukee Food and City Tours. Going to be fun. It's Experience Wisconsin, Saturday at noon, right here on 620 WTMJ.
I know you have a great dog, right? But you know there's room for improvement. At Sit Means Sit Dog Training, we can help. Our attention-based training system uses modern technology to help you better communicate with your dog, even in high distraction. When you schedule a free consultation with us, you will have the opportunity to see our training in action and meet for yourself our happy dogs off leash and under control. Contact Sit Means Sit today at 262-361-3641 or find us on the web at sitmeansitwaukesha.com to schedule your free consultation so you can have a happy, confident, and obedient dog.
Hi, this is Wayne Larrabee, the voice of Green Bay football. You know, fans count on me to make the right call every time, and I can continue to do that thanks to Summit Eye Care of Wisconsin. When my vision began to drift, my eye doctor said Summit Eye Care was the best place to go. Using the latest adjustable implants, the doctors at Summit were able to fine-tune my vision. In fact, my vision is now the best it's ever been. Summit Eye Care was the right call to help me see all the action on game days.
To schedule an appointment at one of their locations, visit summitiwi.com.
This week's Wagner's home improvement experts are the superheroes at Current Electric.
Who makes insurance simple? That's easy. Delta Dental of Wisconsin. So if you ask, what company encourages you to use your benefits for regular preventive care? Or who provides quick service online or by phone? Which insurance offers access to the largest provider networks? Or who helps you save money when you need more than a checkup? The answer's the same. Definitely Delta Dental. For dental and vision insurance made simple, choose Delta Dental of Wisconsin and Delta Vision today.
Wealth-changing question. Has your advisor created a portfolio based only on your age and risk tolerance? That's simply not good enough. Your money deserves better, and so do you. At Creative Planning, our private wealth managers learn about you first, and then they create a customized plan and portfolio by partnering with our in-house money managers, accountants, and attorneys. Don't settle for a standard portfolio. Book your free meeting today at creativeplanning.com. Creative Planning, a richer way to wealth.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
Welcome back on WTMJ. 855-616-1620 is the Old National Bank talk and text line. With the second presidential debate, the Republican presidential debate, primary debate, coming up on September 27th, we are hoping to see this field thin down a little bit more. See, we still have 6 candidates on the stage. And boy, even though Donald Trump is the front runner, sucking all the wind out of the room. And frankly, I think he's been a little quiet to be performing so well in the polls. See, this is a strategy that worked for President Biden during the 2020 election, but now we're kind of seeing it reversed. And so it is a confusing time. But regardless, we deserve to have a Republican candidate, a primary that is substantive, and a primary that matters, and a primary that gets all of these issues out on the table. So who is going to be the first one to go? Back in the 2016 election, you already had Scott Walker out at this time. You already had Rick Perry, who had dropped out in early September. The money just dries up. And the RNC is continuing to tighten the criteria for these various debates. This time around, instead of 20,000 unique donors, you have to have 50,000 unique donors. And the sticking point, I think this is fascinating, the sticking point for the candidates, Doug Bergman is the one who really stands out. He won't sign the pledge that says he will support whoever the eventual nominee is. And so I think we're going to start to see these candidates kind of line up and some of these folks start to drop out. If you recall, in 2016, Bobby Jindal withdrew in November. Lindsey Graham dropped out in January. Mike Huckabee and Rick Santorum then shortly thereafter. Once you get to Iowa, you really start to see the field thin down. And so much of this has to do with not only the ideas and the idea space, but with the funding. We've heard Ron DeSantis is blowing through money. Is he going to be the first to go because his operation is so huge and unstable? You know, Nikki Haley, will it be Nikki Haley that Donald Trump, is she going to realize that Donald Trump is just going to walk away with it and say, I'm going to keep my powder dry. I'm going to come back in the next election, 2028, and it's going to be a different day. So which of these candidates is going to get out first, and which one should get out first? Clear the way so that we can actually have a productive conversation. 855-616-1620. We'll get your reaction when we come back. I'm Tracy Johnson in for Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
At Kendor Marine, we have everything you need but the water. For over 50 years, boaters have found that to be true. Because when they've needed that old part they thought they'd never find, guess what? They found it here, along with everything else you need to keep your boat out there on the water. This is Dave Doro, and boaters in the know exactly where to go. Kendor Marine, 57th and Ryan Road in Franklin.
Hey boaters, cruise to Kendor Marine. We got everything you need but the water.
KendorMarine.com.
Hey boaters.
Well, if you have an old boat, new boat, or in between, then Kendor Marine is a great place for you to shop. Because not only do we have all the parts and accessories you need for almost any kind of boat, we also have the expert advice that just about any boater is one day gonna need. I'm Dave Doro, and boaters in the know exactly where to go. Kendor Marine, 57th and Ryan Road in Franklin.
Hey boaters, cruise to Kendor Marine. We got everything you need but the water.
KendorMarine.com.
Goldie Schmidt is going to find that these pitches won't be too high, not too low, but just right.
Goldschmidt swings and misses. A curveball struck him out.
The Brew Crew pay another visit to the Cardinals with coverage starting tonight at 6:10. News Radio 620 WTMJ, Milwaukee.
1 o'clock, we have 65 degrees, sunshine today with highs 68 to 73. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Connie Weber. At American Family Field this morning, Assembly Speaker Robin Voss detailing the latest proposal meant to fund improvements to the stadium and keep the Brewers in Milwaukee until at least 2050.
The newest proposal from the legislature requires a $600 million local and state contribution, with the city of Milwaukee and Milwaukee County paying $7.5 million annually over the 27-year lease. The state would contribute $400 million over the lease term, largely funded through players' salary taxes. As for the Brewers themselves, they'll contribute $100 million. Representative Robert Brooks of Saukville says they're happy with that amount.
We got a lot more than what they offered. Obviously, the governor's proposal had no contribution from the Brewers.
Governor Evers has not commented yet on the new proposal. Adam Roberts, WTMJ News.
For more details on the full proposal, head to WTMJ.com. Abortion services now being performed again in Wisconsin at 2 Planned Parenthood clinics in Madison and Milwaukee.
The move coming amid an ongoing court battle over the 1849 ban on abortions, drawing reactions from both sides of the political debate. Wisconsin Right to Life Legislative Chair Gracie Skagman.
We actually have pro-life bills that will be in a Senate committee just this week.
On the pro-choice side, Reproductive Justice Action Milwaukee is holding a celebratory rally at the Milwaukee County Courthouse this evening. Outreach Chair Carly Klein.
Those medical providers are being extremely brave to be able to open their doors.
Wyatt Barmar-Pooley, WTMJ News.
The UAW strike against the big three automakers continues. Marcel Edwards is on the picket lines outside the Ford assembly plant in Wayne, Michigan.
We're in here for not just the legacy, but we're in here for new workers also.
Nearly 13,000 workers on the picket lines in 3 states. All 9 teenagers who escaped a juvenile detention center in Pennsylvania's Berks County have been taken into custody. Here's ABC's Dave Packer.
Spending a night on the run, 9 teens who escaped the Abraxas Academy Detention Center in Pennsylvania Sunday evening during a riot. By the morning,
all 9 of the escapees from last night were picked up.
Trooper David Boehm of the Pennsylvania State Police, 4 had given themselves up tired and cold at a residence just before 6 a.m. The others in a stolen vehicle, police catching up.
They took 4 into custody in the pickup truck. 1 took off in the field. taken into custody shortly thereafter.
All to be charged, said Boehm, with escape and any other crimes they committed. Dave Packer, ABC News.
One person dead and 2 others hurt in a shooting, 47th and Hadley in Milwaukee. Happened Saturday around 4 in the morning. The 28-year-old victim was pronounced dead at the scene. 2 others, a 32 and 39-year-old, were taken to a hospital and are expected to survive. Police found a gun at the scene. They're looking for a 22-year-old man in connection. Rides for Milwaukee County's Connect Bus Rapid Transit will remain free until early 2024, MCTS announced this morning. Due to supply chain delays, the pre-board fare equipment will not be ready to install as planned for this fall. Some of the BRT buses remain off the road due to an issue with their batteries. MCTS says ridership on Connect One is now at about 3,600 riders per day. Time for news about your money in the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Dow is up 61 points, the S&P 500 is up 10, and the Nasdaq Composite is up 29. It's time for the Annex Wealth Management Tax Smart Planning Review. They'll review, assess, and provide strategies you can use. Go to annexwealth.com/tax-smart. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Sighting Unlimited, WTMJ News Time 104.
This report is sponsored by the White Lace Inn, Door County. Plan your romantic getaway today.
Hello, Dennis from White Lace Inn here in beautiful Door County. White Lace Inn has been providing gracious elegance, sincere hospitality, and relaxing getaways since 1982. Wander garden pathways that connect each of the 4 Victorian homes, 18 rooms and suites that make up White Lace Inn. White Lace Inn is just minutes away from restaurants, museums, shopping, hiking, bike trails, and all of Door County. When evening comes, return to White Lace Inn, relax in front of a romantic fireplace, and step into an inviting whirlpool bath for 2. Then climb into a luxurious bed for the night. The next morning, enjoy a delicious White Lace Inn breakfast, served with Door County coffee. White Lace Inn, consistently voted one of the most romantic inns of America. Whether it's a relaxing getaway, birthday, anniversary, honeymoon, or small destination wedding, amazing memories are waiting you at White Lace Inn. Open every night of the year. To find out more, take a tour at whitelacinn.com. That's whitelacinn.com.
Business insurance continues to get more complex. Here's Jeff Salasinski, VP of Insurance Operations at R&R Insurance.
Thanks, Vince. Property insurance rates are up nearly 20%. Commercial auto insurance rates have increased for 50 straight quarters. Commercial insurance rates overall have increased for 23 straight quarters. Insurance companies are taking actions in today's market to return to profitability, aggressively raising rates, non-renewing unprofitable accounts, and even pulling out of certain classes of business. You need a knowledgeable, stable insurance partner with a team of resources to guide and protect your business through this uncertainty.
So, Jeff, what's the solution?
With 48 years of stability, local family ownership, and a team of client-focused resources supporting your business, at R&R Insurance, it's all about your company's success. At R&R Insurance, we know business insurance.
That's Jeff from R&R Insurance. Thanks for the great info, Jeff.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update. A strong start and flat finish for the Packers, who fall to 1-1 after that 25-24 road loss to the Atlanta Falcons.
Behind 3 touchdown passes from Jordan Love, the Packers entered the fourth quarter with a 24-12 lead on the road. But the Falcons outscored the Packers 13-0 in the final 15 minutes.
Obviously very disappointed that when you have a 12-point lead in the second half and you don't make the plays and don't play complementary football, and then when you have mistakes, all those get magnified.
Matt LaFleur's offense produced just 11 yards in the fourth quarter, while the Falcons scored on each of their final 4 possessions.
Did a better job than us, obviously.
Greg Matzik, WTMJ Sports.
Packers played without top wide receiver Christian Watson, lead running back Aaron Jones, and starting left tackle David Bakhtiari. The Brewers drop a series finale 2-1 to Washington, 6.5 games on Chicago in the NL Central race. The magic number is 7. They take on the Cardinals tonight, and coverage begins at 6:10 here on WTMJ. Checking the roads now with the Johnson & Sons paving time-saver traffic. No major delays to report right now. 94 from the Zoo to Highway 16 to the Zoo, about a 10-minute drive. Downtown to the Zoo, running about 5. 4145 northbound from the Zoo interchange to Highway Q, about a 13-minute drive. And 94 southbound from the Marquette interchange to Layton Avenue, that is, running about 6 this afternoon.
Traffic is sponsored by Built Right Furniture, Leather and Mattresses.
For affordable, better quality furniture and mattresses, you've got to get to Built Right today. Built Right Furniture saves you money. 54th and Layton Avenue in Greenfield.
A WTMJ 5-day forecast, sunny today with high 68 to 73 and an overnight low of 57. There is a slight chance of showers later on. Chance of showers tomorrow with a high 70. Slight chance of rain on Wednesday, partly cloudy, warm with a high of 80. Thursday and Friday, sunshine and a high of 83 on Thursday, 84 on Friday. Madison right now 68, Green Bay 64, Milwaukee 65 degrees. I'm Connie Weber, Sighting Unlimited, WTMJ News Time 108.
Live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue, it's the Jeff Wagner Show. Now, filling in for Jeff Wagner, here's Tracy Johnson.
All right, so we're just a week away from the second Republican primary debate, and we have our field. But who's going to be the first to go, or who needs to get out of the way so we can actually have a discussion? We already know that former President Trump is probably not going to show up. But is the strategy of those who are sticking around that this guy's going to be in prison, or Donald Trump is not going to be able to speak because of his indictment charges? You know, I that is a fair question. But we still need to see this field thin down. And, you know, as we've seen between the first and second debate, they are making it more difficult to get in. One of the texters suggested anyone who's not over 5% in a national poll should be left to the wayside. And right now, when I look at the Real Clear Politics election 2024 RCP poll averages, you've got Trump at 56%, DeSantis at 12.7%, Ramaswamy in third at 7.2%, and Haley at 5.7%. So everyone else is kind of off the table. We've got from the 262, someone who wants to see a debate between Christie and Trump. You know, those are probably two of the most polar opposite. And yeah, you saw Chris Christie. His whole purpose for being in this primary is to fight back. And frankly, I'm surprised at how he's really kind of caught fire and how he's been able to stand out. I think his presence on the stage and his presence is serving its purpose. And his fundraising and his support continues to show that. But this second debate is going to be a really, really important opportunity for these candidates to fundraise around. If you remember, after the last debate in Milwaukee, Nikki Haley, I think to many people, came out the strong front runner in that, in terms of her fundraising bump and her national appeal. I mean, she had a killer answer on that issue of abortion in terms of being different from the other candidates on that stage. She also has a very defined stance on national security. And one of the texters from the 920 suggests we need somebody who's going to look like a leader and talk about foreign policy. This would immediately disqualify Vivek Ramaswamy, who clearly has no idea. You know, how are these important issues being tackled by the candidates who are up on stage? And not only how are these important issues being tackled, but how do they interconnect with everything else? Foreign policy strength is important, and it shows strength of the leader. Think about what's happening with the United Auto Workers in this strike. You've got President Biden, who is barely existent. You know, does he have a role in this? And would that strength at the top on a national stage trickle down into all of these other areas about strength and confidence in our leader and in our country? So I will definitely be tuning in. We had a question from one of the texters to say, you know, is this going to be on regular TV so regular people can watch this? And I don't know the answer to that question, but I would suggest that there are lots of debate watch parties. Perhaps follow the RNC page or the convention page, and I'm sure you can find a place. I know that it was streaming online. In many places, Fox News is going to be hosting it, and Univision will be co-hosting it as well. So I want to get into this topic because it struck me and actually ties to the Republican National Convention and the debate that was held here in Milwaukee. Security at the airports went through a major overhaul as a result of the events of 9/11. which we just celebrated the 22nd anniversary of just last week. And I'm sure you can think back to a frustration of going through the security line, but there are some companies who are really looking at ways to enhance that experience. That might sound like an oxymoron. Enhance the experience of going through security at the airport. So if you haven't looked, but you probably can sense it, nearly 264 million people have passed through airport security checkpoints just this summer. So travel, both domestic and foreign to Europe specifically, is up. It's up 2 million more than in 2019 before the pandemic. So that whole that pent up demand is real, and it's playing out in the airports. But my least favorite part is going through those security checkpoints. And I am one of those people who have TSA pre-check, but I got to be honest, nowadays, depending on which airport you're in, that pre-check line might be longer than the regular security line. And now we have global entry and we have clear services. But either way, whether you have TSA pre-check or regular security, they're telling you to get to the airport 90 minutes ahead of time or 2 hours ahead of time. Well, there is a new company that is testing out this security system that would get you in and through that line in 30 seconds. They're concerned with the staffing challenges. They're concerned with the accuracy of human interaction, being able to spot items. And we haven't had a terrorist threat in the country for many, many years. And I would argue that it's because we do have this pre-check. And we do have such high security. But if you're able to go through this line and go in and out and through in 30 seconds, is that too fast? And would we be sacrificing any sort of security? I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that. What do you think? Would we be sacrificing security wholesale if we just lean into this technology? Are the shortcuts always better? 855-616-1620 on the Old National Bank talk and text line. What do you think? Should we be trying to get people through faster, or will we be sacrificing too much at the airports? Your reaction, my response when we come back. I'm Tracy Johnson in for Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
Hey, Wisconsin, winter is right around the corner. Get your house ready before the cold hits. WTMJ's Jeff Wagner here for Wagner's Home Improvement Showcase, brought to you by senior real estate specialists Bruce and Jean Nemovitz, Hair Construction, Current Electric, Outdoor Living Unlimited, and Kohler Services. Join us every week to discuss ways to weatherproof your home here on News Radio 620 WTMJ. If you can't catch us live, visit Wagner's Home Improvement Showcase under Features on WTMJ.com.
Hey, Brian. I think it's time to get serious about new windows and front door for our home.
I agree. It will save us money in the long run to eliminate the draft.
I was thinking more about our curb appeal, but yes, the draft thing too.
J&J Contractors in Greendale have been around for 40 years and have great reviews.
Go give them a call.
J&J Contractors' skilled and certified team uses high-quality materials for all your exterior needs. J&J Contractors do it all. Windows, doors, siding, roofing, and gutters.
Russ bought his first home in Wisconsin with a mortgage from AccuNet when today's college freshmen were still in diapers. A few Friday mornings ago, Russ emailed saying he and his wife were ready to buy their forever home. And by 4 o'clock, we were all on a conference call with their real estate agent talking about what it would take to write a winning offer in today's inventory-starved market. And then it happened. They met their dream home face-to-face Saturday afternoon and wrote an offer $15,000 over asking, accompanied by an AccuNet property-specific pre-approval letter that guaranteed they could make good on that offer without selling their existing home first and without requiring an appraisal. That's right, no appraisal required, which both the listing agent and seller loved. I can't promise your very first offer will be accepted like Russ and Julie's, but I will promise AccuNet can help you and your agent craft the most attractive offer possible. Hey, don't settle for a flimsy, unimaginative bank pre-approval. Get started with your rock-solid, guaranteed pre-approval by clicking on the blue button today at ACCUNET.com.
Get to and from every home game in Green Bay this football season safely. Milwaukee Brathaus, Jack's American Pub, and Wanakee Golf Course all offer transportation on game days. They've got bus services with private restrooms and all-you-can-drink packages. Book your round-trip ride from any of these locations and get complimentary access to an all-you-can-eat and drink tailgate at the bar on Holmgren Way. Make your game day experience a VIP experience with your official ride to Green Bay. Visit MilwaukeeBrathaus.com to book your trip today.
Welcome back on WTMJ. Remember back in the day when you could arrive at the airport 30 minutes before your flight? This was back in the day, and by back in the day, I mean 1999. When you could arrive 30 minutes before your flight, you often didn't even have to show an ID or a boarding pass. You could meet your loved one right outside the airplane when they got off. Well, that all changed, right? When 9/11, and for good reason. Now we have 2 hours ahead of time. We got to go through security. We got to go through TSA. We're frustrated. We get pulled aside. We got extra. It's a lot. But there's new technology being introduced, and actually it was tested here in Milwaukee during the RNC debates that would move people through security in 30 seconds. So you would go into this room and you would sit down in an avatar. So like a fake person, a computer person on a screen would basically direct you to sit down in this booth, and it would scan your items and it would scan you with an X-ray, and then you would be on your way. And they would move people through. They're saying that less than 5% of the people going through this technology would even have to have any sort of human interaction. And it would be very much like the self-check lane at the grocery store. And I'm having a little bit of trouble with this because I'm so used to the security. And sometimes when they tell me, oh, you got a water bottle in here and you got to, I'm like, thank you. Because who knows if that could have been a weapon that somebody else has. We're all kind of on the same page. So is this a good idea? Getting through security in 30 seconds. Lamar from Orlando, you're on WTMJ.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. So just full disclosure, I used to be a flight attendant, and I'm currently a pilot in training, and I fly a lot.
Thank you.
The biggest delay during security is people that are not prepared. If you've ever been to the airport, and I people watch, and I pay attention to this stuff.
Yes.
If you ever watch, and I use crew members as an example, if you ever watch like a whole crews of, that go through security when they're in uniform that are kind of, we call it getting random.
Yep.
They go through quickly. There's no delay because they do it all the time. Frequent travelers go through quickly. They do it all the time. The biggest delay is people that don't know what they're doing, or they think I'm the exception to the rule, like the person arguing about a 12-ounce bottle of their favorite cologne. I'm just using an example.
Yes.
These people delay things because they tie up that human. It would be no different if you had a machine do it. If they didn't know what they were doing, they're going to slow it down. That's the biggest problem. And lastly, no one reads. I get this all the time when I'm in plain clothes traveling, like the security guys, and I'm all set. They're like, oh, my God, you read the sign. I'm like, yeah, it's right there. Nobody reads. And that's the biggest issue. So no matter what technology you put, those infrequent travelers, just like boarding, you see them. They stand in the aisle trying to figure out where they need to sit. That slows everything down. So you'll never – I don't think there's a solution to that unless the public just gets better at traveling.
Lamar, thanks for the call. I think you're hearing it right from somebody who travels frequently, serves as a flight attendant and as a pilot. This you can put this technology in place, but because you've got a queue and because you've got other people, especially those infrequent travelers or those people who think they're above it and they don't need to follow the rules or they're somehow special, that they don't need to adhere to the rules, they're the ones that are going to slow this down. But my bigger concern about trying to fast track this and trying to get people through security more quickly is more about that security. And these people who want to do bad things are going to find a way. So after the 9/11 attacks, we had to take our computers out, we had to take our shoes off, we had to take our belts off, all this. And then you have other people that are trying to sneak on. Wasn't there the shoe bomber? Okay, well now you gotta do another level. And there are always going to be people who are going to try to skirt the system. And I don't mean to think the worst of people. But there are bad people who want to do bad things. And when you have one person or one group of people, I mean, think about it. 9/11 was 13 people that changed an entire industry, that changed an entire way that our economy works and moves. There is a real-time value of that time spent in the line. When I have to spend 2 hours getting to the airport ahead of time because I got to sit through security because random people want to take their cologne in the bag or want to have their Mountain Dew and not dump it out ahead of time because they don't read directions. I mean, that's a real issue. And so I think we should rely on technology to try to improve the system and improve the way that we do things. And we're seeing that with global entry, with the clear, with TSA PreCheck and all these various levels for people who are more and more familiar with travel. And I think that's a good thing. But to wholesale say we're going to eliminate, it's something like half of the TSA staff, the security checkers, we're going to eliminate half of that. And we're going to lean in on technology and we're going to rely on technology to keep us safe. I just think we might be rushing into that. And, you know, it's got to be all or none, I think, right? Because if I say, okay, I want to take the easy way and I want to go through the fast track, you know, unless we're all playing by the same book, this doesn't work. Or if I say that I want to go through the extra precautions and somebody else who wants to sneak in a bomb or wants to sneak in a knife, I just think that we're looking to cut too many corners. And I don't think that the best way is always the fastest way or that the fastest way is always the best way. So TSA changes, TSA PreCheck security changes, I think they're coming, whether we like them or not. And some of it's going to be those external forces of the fact that we don't have enough people who want to do these jobs. And the fact that we just have too many travelers. And we can't justify the time. But what's the cost and what's the expense to our security? I'm Tracy Johnson, in for Jeff Wagner here on WTMJ.
It's Brewers play-by-play announcer Lane Grindle.
They've got the ability to put an incredible defensive team out there in the outfield. When they've got Weimer in center and Freewick in right, there aren't any teams in Major League Baseball that can cover as much ground as those two guys.
Every Monday at 4:15.
Don't ever take meaningful baseball in September for granted. It is special when it's here, and the Brewers have had meaningful baseball in September since the 2017 season.
This is the Hunt for Brew October, presented by Delta Dental and Network Health.
Are you looking for the perfect restaurant for your next night out? Then make Aria, the acclaimed restaurant inside St. Kate, your next dinner destination. Specializing in artisanal American cuisine, Aria features carefully prepared seasonal entrees along with a robust selection of craft cocktails, wine, and local beer. Join them on Sundays for the restaurant's famous trademark chicken, served family style with sides like mashed potatoes, goat cheese biscuits, and more. Make your plans today to dine at Aria. Learn more and make reservations at aria@stkate.com. That's aria@stkate.com.
It's David Nason from WTMJ's The Fix-It Show for Hair Construction. If your septic or mound system needs repair, residential or commercial, contact the team who specializes in them, Hair Construction. They have you covered. The friendly, knowledgeable staff at Hair Construction can guide you from a simple septic pumping all the way through an emergency repair or replacement. For all your septic needs, contact the experts at Hair Construction today, 262-968-2550, or find them online at haircorp.com. That's HERRcorp.com.
Who makes insurance simple? That's easy. Delta Dental of Wisconsin. So if you ask, what company encourages you to use your benefits for regular preventive care? Or who provides quick service online or by phone? Which insurance offers access to the largest provider networks? Or who helps you save money when you need more than a checkup? The answer's the same. Definitely Delta Dental. For dental and vision insurance made simple, choose Delta Dental of Wisconsin and Delta Vision today.
Hey, it's WTMJ's Greg Matzik for Flanners Home Entertainment. How about improving watching the team and the games this season by pulling the trigger on an upgrade to your TV and audio system from Flanners Home Entertainment? In an age of impersonable big box stores and risky online purchases, there is still our locally owned Flanners, where quality, service, the best brands, and guaranteed best price remain top priorities. Shop Flanners in West Dallas, Grafton, and at Flanners.com. Flanners, sound advice at the best price. Just press play.
30 seconds to get through the security line at the airport. Is that a dream or is it a nightmare? And there's new technology that would get people through security at the airport, which is probably the most inconvenient thing for a lot of people because you got to get there 2 hours ahead of time. But is 30 seconds enough time if you're going to thoroughly look through people's luggage and try to stop somebody who wants to do a bad thing from doing that bad thing? We have some great input on the text line from the 913. The further we're removed from the terrorist event in the U.S., the more people consider it an inconvenience to have to submit to security procedures. If there was a terrorist attack, TSA would be the first to be looked at as to how it happened. Technology will continue to advance. The problem is that people will always be trying to beat technology. Security at the Milwaukee airport is seldom more than 15 minutes unless you're traveling first thing in the morning or during busy travel times. I think that's a great point that, you know, the further the 9/11 attacks are in the rearview mirror, and the more that the security, the security really hasn't changed a lot in the 20 years since the attacks. We've made this change and there hasn't been a ton of changes. And so we continue to look at this as an inconvenience rather than a necessity to keep our country safe. Another caller, Jim in Fond du Lac, says the first thing you compared it to is the self-checkout line. Yes, so that's what the X Micro is the name of the company. They're comparing it to the self-checkout line at the grocery store. So what happened the second they shoved everybody into the self-checkout lines? Retail theft. Yeah, there's lots of things contributing to retail theft, and you do see more people trying to skirt the system, and then you have the cameras, and then you have the different weights on the checkout counter, trying to stop the people who are inevitably going to be trying to skirt the rules. So I think it's a reasonable concern that these smart people are going to try to get around technology. Look at what's happening in Las Vegas right now. Las Vegas, the heart of entertainment within our country, is being hacked left and right. All these hotels are being hacked. They have security systems in place, but these hackers are smarter than the computers. And with the introduction of AI, you're just asking for problems. I think there's perhaps a happy medium here where you engage people, but you also engage that technology. And perhaps that technology can help augment the process and maybe contribute to people's sense of security. How many times have I actually gone through the scanner and when I get to my destination, I realize I left something liquid in there. They missed it. That actually scares me. And over the summer, I was traveling to Europe, and there are some countries that have very tight security, and there are other countries that barely have any. And I was looking at my family and looking around like, do I have to put this through a scanner or something? Or like, how would they know? How would they know if I'm carrying a knife or a bomb? Or I think that we would be giving up some of our sense of security if we lean too quickly and too heavily into this technology. But the government is investing billions of dollars in this technology. Actually, TSA, they're investing $1.3 billion in this technology, and they're releasing it throughout the country. So I'm going to continue to dig into this a little more, but I do believe that faster is not always better. And we need to be cautious because this dream of faster security lines, I do believe, could become that nightmare that we all fear. It's 1:32 on WTMJ. I'm Tracy Johnson in for Jeff Wagner.
This week's Fall Home Improvement Showcase expert is Chuck Smith, the founder and the CEO of Current Electric in Wauwatosa. Chuck, first of all, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure, Jeff.
Most people would recognize you by your superhero logo, right?
Yes, Jeff, we pride ourselves about our team and our superheroes, and we're ready to answer the call.
What makes you a team of superheroes?
Well, we provide 5-star service in southeast Wisconsin, and we've been doing it for over 40 years. You know, our technicians listen, and we really want to take care of whatever their needs are.
You've been in business for 40 years. That's a long time. How do you, no pun intended, stay current?
Well, we stay in front of all of the new technology. For example, ever since electric vehicles hit the market, we've been installing electrical vehicle chargers for residential and commercial customers. And we are also Southeast Wisconsin's solar pioneers. We've been designing and installing solar for longer than 20 years.
Solar really is the wave of the future, isn't it?
Yeah, it really has a lot to offer, and I can honestly say the pricing of solar has come down tenfold, and the return on investment is there and ready to change our energy source.
Chuck, I've been seeing more and more EVs on the road recently. Even though that's the case, my guess is a lot of people don't know that much about them.
Well, we want to educate the public. As a matter of fact, this month we will be hosting our second annual EV car show. We'll be showing off our solar-powered EV Tesla Pace car. The event will be held 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Saturday the 23rd at our shop located at 2942 North 117th Street in Wauwatosa. We will have food trucks, prizes, raffles, and I'm told Tesla will even have some demo cars so you can come drive the latest model.
What's the best way for somebody to reach Current Electric?
Well, we really like talking to our customers, so give us a call at 262-786-5885. You can also reach us on our website at www.callcurrent.com.
Chuck, thanks so much for being with us today. Current Electric, our featured sponsor this week on our Fall Home Improvement Showcase.
Hey guys, what can I get for you?
I'd like to get a large half-calf scalded almond milk latte, 4 pumps vanilla, 1 pump cinnamon with an extra half shot, sweetened with agave nectar at 167 degrees with room for cream.
We've all been behind those people in the Starbucks line. We all know those people. They order the complicated coffee drink, the coffee shop from Starbucks. Starbucks, right? They made it in vogue to order coffee and to order complicated coffee, right? Like the double whip mocha chai latte. These people are crazy. But here's the deal. So Starbucks, right, is the reason we're even having this conversation. And Starbucks is the iconic brand that is known for their logo, right? Their logo on the cups. People carry it into the office as a status symbol. People use the word Starbucks as if it's it's not just a proper noun. It's just a noun, right? I'm getting Starbucks. It's like saying you're getting coffee. So Starbucks, a national brand, is making a huge change. And for those of you who pay attention to Starbucks and kind of their, what would you call it, their kind of stance in the world, their stance on sustainability, you will understand that they are, I think, more of a sustainability company that sells coffee, in terms of leveraging their brand to try to make the world less polluted and a better place. Well, they're trying to remove entirely their disposable cups. And they've got an aggressive goal of 2030. They want to do this by the year 2030. So in just 7 years from now, 8 years from now. And the way that they're doing this is they're incentivizing consumers to bring their own cups. So in the past, this wasn't even possible. I was talking to my husband about this, and I thought, that sounds like a good idea. He said that wasn't even possible because of sanitation. Right now, across the country, they're saying, all right, bring your coffee cup, and every store is going to have this little single unit sanitation device, and they're going to pop your cup, your stinky old coffee cup on there. They're going to clean it out, and then they're going to fill you up. and you get to save $1 on your coffee. All right, I'm usually not into this kind of thing, like at the grocery store when they say bring your own bag or when they try to charge you for a bag. I'm like, you know what? It's a convenience thing for me. But I think this could be a good idea, especially if you get to save $1. But I think it's going to take a little bit longer than 2030 to roll out this idea. And it's going to rely on the consumers to really buy into this. And I'm struggling with the fact that they're going to be able to meet this initiative. I'm sure there's shareholders who are tied up in this. And, this is really them trying to push the envelope on that sustainability. So I think it's a great idea. I think it's a bold move by a company. And I've always kind of thought that other places should engage in this. I talk to my friends about like some buyback ideas and a great way to get more customers. So Starbucks looking to be disposable cup free by the year 2030. I'm not quite on board with it, but time will tell. It's 1:38. When we come back, speaking of sustainability, I know this is a topic that Jeff covers a lot, electric vehicles. So it's not just about the electric vehicles, but about the energy and the quote unquote fuel for the electric vehicles that could become an issue and is becoming even more of an issue than the cars. We'll discuss when we come back. It's 1:39 on WTMJ.
Is outdoor living limited at your place? Well, imagine a deck, a patio, pergola, fire pit, maybe even an outdoor kitchen in your yard. Outdoor Living Unlimited is a local, family-owned company that consults, designs, and builds these things. And they're the best. Let them make outdoor living unlimited in your yard like they did in ours. We are Wisconsin. We live outdoors as much as possible. Make the most of it with help from Outdoor Living Unlimited. See OutdoorLivingUnlimited.com.
Russ bought his first home in Wisconsin with a mortgage from Accunet when today's college freshmen were still in diapers. A few Friday mornings ago, Russ emailed saying he and his wife were ready to buy their forever home. And by 4 o'clock, we were all on a conference call with their real estate agent talking about what it would take to write a winning offer in today's inventory-starved market. And then it happened. They met their dream home face-to-face Saturday afternoon and wrote an offer $15,000 over asking, accompanied by an Accunet property-specific pre-approval letter that guaranteed they could make good on that offer without selling their existing home first and without requiring an appraisal. That's right, no appraisal required, which both the listing agent and seller loved. I can't promise your very first offer will be accepted like Russ and Julie's, but I will promise Accunet can help you and your agent craft the most attractive offer possible. Hey, don't settle for a flimsy, unimaginative bank pre-approval. Get started with your rock-solid, guaranteed pre-approval by clicking on the blue button today at accunet.com.
Hi, this is Wayne Larrabee, the voice of Green Bay football. You know, fans count on me to make the right call every time, and I can continue to do that thanks to Summit Eye Care of Wisconsin. When my vision began to drift, my eye doctor said Summit Eye Care was the best place to go. Using the latest adjustable implants, the doctors at Summit were able to fine-tune my vision. In fact, my vision is now the best it's ever been. Summit Eye Care was the right call to help me see all the action on game days.
To schedule an appointment at one of their locations, visit summitiwi.com.
Staples stores provide innovative products and services for small business, remote workers and learners, even teachers and parents. Explore more at your local Staples store.
This is Matt Meitner, owner of Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Do you find yourself talking to your dog but feel like she's not listening to you?
Bella, sit!
Are you constantly repeating yourself but she's not following your directions?
Sit! Sit!
Frustrating, isn't it? At Sit Means Sit Dog Training, we want to help you have a happy, confident, and obedient dog, and we also want to make the training process an enjoyable and worthwhile experience. Contact Sit Means Sit today to schedule a free consultation so we can create a customized training program so you are able to have the dog you want and deserve.
Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Sorry, we don't train husbands, wives, or kids.
With Rhino Shield ceramic coating, never paint your house again. Rhino Shield will keep 100% of the rain and 90% of the heat from penetrating your house. And it looks just like paint, but will last 5 times longer, and it's guaranteed for 25 years. Rhino Shield comes in any color. Get started today at rhinoshieldwis.com.
No paint, don't
don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
.142 on WTMJ. Tracy Johnson in for Jeff Wagner here on this beautiful Monday afternoon. Great fall afternoon. So, electric vehicles. I do not own an electric vehicle, and I am not planning on getting one anytime soon. Much of that has to do with the fact that I can barely keep my head on straight when it comes to keeping my gas tank full, right? I am often rolling into a gas station on fumes, all right? And I can't imagine what that's like with an electric vehicle. But nevertheless, electric vehicles are here to stay. And the push towards electric vehicles is here. And even though only 6% of vehicles on the road today with growing incentives to purchase electric vehicles, that number is expected to grow and grow exponentially. Not to mention that with the United Auto Workers strike, many manufacturers are going to be forced to lean into their electric vehicle plans to really keep up with the demand. I just think that there are too many variables and too many unknowns right now. And frankly, the infrastructure to support these vehicles just isn't there. And that's really kind of the point of the discussion, is that the government has invested significantly in trying to build up the infrastructure, build up the network of these charging stations. So you've got not only privatized tanks or privatized charging stations, but you've got government. The federal government has invested something like $7.5 billion in building up this network. And I point to an article in Politico that looks at how effective these investments have been out of the gate. And it looks at California as a test case. And in California, these researchers went around and they tested all these different charging stations. And what they found is that nearly a quarter of these charging stations that had been built in the last 5 years actually functioned. So could you imagine pulling up to a gas station or pulling up to a charging station and, when you see the little plastic bag over the pump and you're like, oh, I mean, even though at a gas station, there's another one right next to it, but at an electric car charging station where you generally will have people camped out for something like 4 to 6 hours, unless you're just looking for just a quick little charge. So how does that actually function, and how does that actually work? And it makes me think about, the government's role in investing in this infrastructure, and if it really should be the job of these municipalities and the government to make this possible. Because there's such a push to spew out these electric vehicles, but there's nowhere to plug them in and to charge them. And, I sit in on some of these meetings, and I know I work with developers and apartment owners who say, we're going to have these EV charging stations. It's even an amenity that many offices will put out there for their tenants and say, hey, we have an electric charging station, and this is why you should come to my building, or this is why you should rent an apartment here. But municipalities are talking about how they invest in this infrastructure. And I worry that if the government and if these municipalities are really taking such a role, such a forward role in this planning, that we're really kind of upsetting the balance of privatization, and I would argue the ability to have a superior product, because you're not inspiring that competition. You're simply incentivizing government to frankly put out these inferior products. So where do we start? I mean, it's almost like a chicken and an egg kind of discussion with these charging stations. Should the government be investing in this? And is it their role? And if so, what is the accountability to those EV drivers? Because electric vehicles aren't going away. Even if you've got batteries starting on fire, even if the economics of it don't work out, there's all kinds of arguments against it. But the fact is, it's here to stay, and it's coming. And at some point, I'm not sure we're going to be able to buy an internal combustion engine car. In fact, when I was shopping for my last car with my dad, he said, this is probably the last vehicle with an engine, straight engine, that you're going to buy. And it kind of struck me. I was thinking, wow, I'm just not ready for this. So what is the role of these municipalities in making sure that we have these electric charging stations? And what's the expense? At what expense to the taxpayers? Does the government and municipal planning get involved with where to place the gas stations around a city? Or is that inspired by private business? Is that a factor in a matter of supply and demand? 855-616-1620 is the Old National Bank talk and text line. I'm torn on this. What do you think? Does the government have a role here in building out the electric vehicle infrastructure? 855-616-1620 on the Old National Bank talk and text line. It's 149. We'll be right back.
There's no better green and gold insider than from the man who wore the green and gold himself, Bart Tauscher.
The thing you hear all through training camp, if you're an undrafted free agent or a late pick, is, hey, you're trying out for our team, but you're also putting film up there for the other 31.
Bart Tauscher is our green and gold insider every Wednesday at 4:15 on Wisconsin's Afternoon News.
I like his moxie. You know what? We're going to keep him on the 53.
Presented by your Wisconsin Chevy dealers.
This is going to be interesting, so pay attention.
Mountains and trees. Ducks and hunting dogs. Dinosaur bones. Meteorites. Steel that's carved like the leather stirrups on a Western saddle. Damascus steel, like they make swords out of. Carbon fiber. Hardwood.
Manly things.
Hardwood. You already said that. I know. I just like the sound of it. Hardwood. It does have a nice ring to it.
Ring? I see what you did there.
I'm sorry, I got us off track.
Kessler's has wedding bands for men.
Real men.
Made of manly things.
He wants you to wear a big, beautiful diamond so that everyone you meet will know how much he loves you.
Why not insist that he wear something equally cool?
You'll tell your grandkids about the day you went shopping for this wedding band at Kessler's when they ask,
"Where did you get such a cool ring? And what is it made of?"
Welcome to Kessler's.
To find the Kessler's nearest you,
go to KesslersDiamonds.com.
Shop Tempur-Pedic mattresses at Steinhafels. Tempur-Pedic queen mattresses start at just $42 per month when you use Steinhafels 72-month financing. Plus, you'll get $300 in Steinhafels cash. Shop in-store or online at steinhafels.com.
You're just going to have to live with it. That's what I told myself. And if you can believe it, that's what the doctors told me.
Since Andy was a boy, he had health issues, which later we would find were primarily due to his trouble breathing. So for 36 years, Andy lived with about 85% blockage in his nose. He had to breathe through his mouth, because when he tried to breathe through his nose, it felt like he was being suffocated. It affected his sleep, his work life, and his ability to play sports. And he wasn't going to let it ruin his life anymore. So he came to Advent. As bad as it was, his problem required a simple solution. In-office balloon sinuplasty and turbinate reduction. Procedures you won't find offered by big box healthcare. This is Dr. Madan Kandula. It's definitely possible that your nasal breathing problems have a simple solution too. You can hear Andy's story in his own words at adventknowsandy.com and begin on your path to breathing well and living better.
Results may vary.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
It's our body, we can do what we want to. It's our house, we can love who we want to. It's our song, we can sing if we want to. It's my mouth, I can say what I want to.
Welcome back, WTMJ. Tracy Johnson in for Jeff Wagner. Electric vehicles they're the way of the future, right? That's what the government tells us. That's what the auto manufacturers have signed on to. but the infrastructure to charge said vehicles is not quite up to snuff. Not only are there not enough charging stations, but of the charging stations that are specifically produced and placed by the government, only 75% of them work. Or in other words, 25% of them don't even work. Sam from McHenry, you're on WTMJ.
Thanks for having me on.
Yes, what do you think? Is this a good idea?
This is I think this whole electric car is a perfect example of the cart being way in front of the horse.
Mm-hmm.
You have a group of people in this country that have bought into this 15-minute city concept, which I'm sure you've heard of.
Yes.
Okay, and you also have a grid and a power, production system that's never going to be able to power up a car for everybody to drive. And you also have a group of people in this country that just hate the fact that people are driving and moving around freely, and they just hate the car, whether it's electric or gas. So that's the perfect storm for a situation that eventually, if you keep going down this road mindlessly, it will only be the affluent who will be driving cars. Because for the most part, it's only the affluent that are buying these electric cars now. They have it as a second car. It's a toy. There's not a lot of working people that have bought into this because they can't afford it, for one thing. And it's not practical. And it's not going in that direction right now for all practical purposes. So when you really look at all the other stuff that's going on and all the other discussions that people are having in this country, it's the perfect storm for you will not go anywhere and only rich people will be driving.
Sam, thanks for the call. I think he makes a really good point that, not only is this really weeding out the normal folks. I mean, this is an expensive proposition. I mean, we have one caller or one texter who suggests, they use it all the time. The average American only travels less than 300 miles a day, so you can charge it at home. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are putting these charging stations in their home, which is great if you have a home. But with so many apartment buildings, I just don't know how you're going to have an electric vehicle charging station for every resident in your apartment complex. And what if some ding-dong parks their gas combustion car in your electric vehicle charging station? I think there's a lot of issues that we haven't yet thought through. And, the power grid is already struggling. You see rolling blackouts in California and in other states, and with, hot weather and with, storms knocking out power. How do we reasonably sustain this grid? Did we think about this before we put all these mandates in place? We have one from the 262 saying in California, you're not going to be able to get a gas powered car by 2035. I mean, this is like 10, 12 years from now. So this is in the very, very near future. And when it comes to building up the infrastructure, when it comes to investing in that infrastructure, unlike a Brewer Stadium, this is a pure cost. This money that municipalities and governments are putting into building this infrastructure and building these charging stations, it is taking away money from other things. It is taking away money from other things like paying for police departments, paying for roads, paying for other quality of life assets. And so, as these municipalities and as these governments consider the prioritization, I think you really need to consider this. And, the numbers show only 6% of the vehicles on the road today are electric vehicles. So we're in this really, really fascinating time right now. And I actually had to take a pause to kind of think about this transformation that we're being put through. And is there a stopgap here? Is there going to be an end? Because I just don't know how this works. I just can't get my head around it. And when I think about the fact that I may not be even able to buy another gas-powered car because there are so few of them, and because, I mean, they're going to be very expensive, right? Because there's going to be a lot of people like me who just can't get their head around electric vehicles. And it's not to say that they're bad, right? I'm saying I'm a dinosaur. I might be just a Gen Xer, but I just can't get my head around it right now. We have a few more texts, and I have a final thought when we return. It's 1:57 here on WTMJ.
Hey, boaters!
Well, if you have an old boat, new boat, or in between, then Kendor Marine is a great place for you to shop. Because not only do we have all the parts and accessories you need for almost any kind of boat, we also have the expert advice that just about any boater is one day gonna need. I'm Dave Doro, and boaters in the know exactly where to go. Kendor Marine, 57th and Ryan Road in Franklin.
Hey, boaters! Cruise to Kendor Marine. We got everything you need but the water.
KendorMarine.com. At Kendor Marine, we have everything you need but the water. For over 50 years, boaters have found that to be true. Because when they've needed that old part they thought they'd never find, guess what? They found it here, along with everything else you need to keep your boat out there on the water. This is Dave Doro, and boaters in the know exactly where to go. Kendor Marine, 57th and Ryan Road in Franklin.
Hey, boaters! Cruise to Kendor Marine. We got everything you need but the water.
KendorMarine.com.
Goldie Schmidt is going to find that these pitches won't be too high, not too low, but just right.
Goldschmidt swings and misses. A curveball struck him out.
The Brew Crew pay another visit to the Cardinals with coverage starting tonight at 6:10. News Radio 620 WTMJ, Milwaukee.
Coming up on 2 o'clock, 64 degrees, mostly sunny for the rest of the afternoon. High 68 to 73 today. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Connie Weber. Abortions resumed today at Planned Parenthood clinics in Madison and Milwaukee.
The move coming amid an ongoing court battle over the 1849 ban on abortions, drawing reactions from both sides of the political debate. Wisconsin Right to Life Legislative Chair Gracie Skagman.
We actually have pro-life bills that will be in a Senate committee just this week.
On the pro-choice side, Reproductive Justice Action Milwaukee is holding a celebratory rally at the Milwaukee County Courthouse this evening. Outreach Chair Carly Klein.
Those medical providers are being extremely brave to be able to open their doors.
Wyatt Barmar-Pooley, WTMJ News.
$600 million is the combined local and state ask from the Wisconsin legislature as part of a new proposal aimed at paying for improvements to American Family Field and keeping the Brewers in Milwaukee until 2050.
That $600 million will come from both a $400 million state contribution, largely raised by players' salary taxes, and a $7.5 million annual kick-in from the city of Milwaukee and Milwaukee County. Saukville Representative Robert Brooks said the plan would also make the ballpark a year-round facility.
This will be a year-round facility that can maintain a 70-degree temperature even when it's 10 below outside.
Assembly Speaker Robin Voss added the deal would lock the team into Milwaukee through the term of the lease.
This agreement requires an ironclad commitment from the Brewers that they cannot leave until 2050.
Adam Roberts, WTMJ News.
Governor Evers has not commented on the new proposal. Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson has expressed concern for the city's contribution amount given the recent sales tax increase. 5 Americans were freed from Iranian custody today.
President Biden on Monday morning held what the White House called an emotional phone call with the families of the American citizens returning home from Iran. The White House says the plane carrying the Americans has left Doha, Qatar. They're now traveling en route to the Washington, D.C. area to be reunited with their families. In a statement Monday, the president celebrated their release, saying they had endured years of, quote, agony, uncertainty, and suffering, but are now finally coming home. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
The most comprehensive border security legislation in decades is coming up for debate in the Senate. The Secure the Border Act would restart wall construction, add more agents to the front line, and tighten asylum standards. Only the migrants who present at a port of entry would be allowed to make their case to stay in the country. Milwaukee's Granville neighborhood could add more than 200 market-rate apartments spread over 2 buildings if ultimately approved by the Common Council. The Granville Advisory Committees recommended the project from Florida-based AB Asset Management, which is currently redeveloping the former Trinity Village senior housing community. It had fallen into disrepair after years of deferred maintenance. The Milwaukee Journal Sentinel reports the proposed $30 million project would use no public public subsidies and its financing. So far, no date for construction has been set. Today marks National Voter Registration Day. Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson on the importance of casting a ballot.
Milwaukee cannot afford to lose its voice in state and national elections in that conversation. Our voices and experiences are valuable, and more importantly, they matter. The only way to have influence in the decisions being made is to participate in our democracy.
As of September 1st, the city of Milwaukee has over 270,000 registered voters, under 50% of its population, according to the 2020 census. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has abolished the Senate's informal dress code effective today. Business attire is no longer required on the Senate floor, which means the 100 members can wear whatever they want, but it doesn't apply to their staffers. Schumer changed the dress code for senators very quietly on Friday, simply by letting the sergeant at arms know. Time for news about your money in the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Right now, the Dow is up just 13 points, S&P 500 up a point, the NASDAQ Composite is off 9. Navigating the markets is back and scheduled for Mequon, Madison, Brookfield, and Appleton. Get set for what's next. Details at annexwealth.com/events. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Citing Unlimited, WTMJ News Time 2:03.
Brighten up your Monday or your Tuesday with a free dinner at the Fox and Hounds. WTMJ's John Mercure here. I love the Fox and Hounds. Recently voted the best supper club in the area. When you buy one dinner, your second dinner is free. Order your favorite steak, the pecan-crusted salmon, seafood, pasta, big fresh salad, even steak and lobster. Get one free. Buy one, get one free. Desserts are also buy one, get one free. 100 wines, 20 bourbons, a Manhattan or old-fashioned with a great beer selection will accent your dinner. The Fox and Hounds, tucked right into the Kettle Moraine Forest. There's nothing else like it. Have a drink in the beer garden in the woods. I love the beer garden. It's beautiful. It's relaxing. The scenery is spectacular. Just off Highway 167, 2 miles east of the beautiful Holy Hill Shrine. As the seasons begin to change, the drive alone is gorgeous. A must-see for Southeast Wisconsin. Check it out. Enjoy a quiet, free dinner tonight at the Fox and Hounds. Tables still open. Come on in. No reservations required. One of my favorite places and recently voted the best supper club in the area. It's the Fox and Hounds. Reservations available at foxandhoundsrestaurant.com. It's the famous Fox and Hounds.
Hi, I'm Randy Miller, owner of All Right Home and Remodeling and current president of the Milwaukee chapter of NARI, the National Association of Remodeling Industry. Those who know me know I'm committed to building a better remodeling experience for homeowners and a better industry for those who work in the trades. If you're a home improvement contractor looking to build your skills and your business, I invite you to reach out to me and learn more about NARI. Email me at randy@ALLRITE-remodeling.com.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus.
No! I ask one question, and you pounce and pressure me to buy a mattress I don't want.
But
you're all alike. What are you looking for? Firm or soft?
You know.
Back off, man!
Hasselus mattress showrooms are employee-free.
No salespeople?
And through Monday, get an extra $200 off in instant savings on Beautyrest, Serta Perfect Sleeper, or Sealy Posturepedic.
I do have a question.
Shoot.
Where have you been my whole life?
Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasselus.com.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update. A 24-12 fourth quarter cushion, not enough for the Packers in Atlanta. The Falcons outscore the Packers 13-0 in the final 15 minutes to pull off a 25-24 win. Packers played without their two most dynamic offensive weapons and, curiously, their starting left tackle.
Shortly after Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles tendon 1 week ago, Packers left tackle David Bakhtiari blasted the NFL for continuing to use turf fields. Bakhtiari, a late addition to the injury report, did not dress Sunday in Atlanta, a game played on turf, not grass. Coincidence?
No.
That's Matt LaFleur. So he'll play this Sunday on the grass at Lambeau then.
I'm not going to get into it. We all know this has been 2 years now. It's probably going to be like this from here on out.
Bakhtiari spent the better part of 2 years rehabbing a torn ACL, suffered in December of 2020. Greg Matzik, WTMJ Sports.
Two of the four teams in the NFC North now 1-1. Bears and Vikings are 0-2. Brewers dropped their series finale 2-1 to Washington. They're now 6.5 games up on Chicago in the NL Central race. The magic number 7 take on the Cardinals tonight. Coverage begins at 6:10 right here on WTMJ. Time for your Johnson & Sons paving time saver traffic. Just a couple of minor delays out there. Actually, just one that's worth noting. I-41 southbound from Highway Q to the zoo. It's usually about a 14-minute drive. It's going to take you about 18 minutes. 94 southbound from the Marquette Interchange to Layton Avenue, running about 6, and 43 from the Marquette Interchange to Brown Deer Road, about an 11-minute drive this afternoon.
Traffic is sponsored by Hall Mazda Milwaukee. Visit hallmazdamilwaukee.com.
Help fellow commuters. See an accident? Call the WTMJ Hall Mazda Traffic Tip Line, 414-238-9329. Visit Hall Mazda to support their Drive Out Cancer event.
Your WTMJ 5-day forecast: sunshine today with high 68 to 73. Then a slight chance of showers late tonight, increasing cloudiness, a low 57. Chance of showers tomorrow, mostly cloudy, 70. A little warmer on Wednesday, still a slight chance of rain, a high of 80. Sunny and warm Thursday and Friday. Thursday's high 83, Friday 84. Right now, Madison 68, Green Bay 64, Milwaukee 65 degrees. I'm Connie Weber, Sighting Unlimited, WTMJ News Time 2:08.
Live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue, it's the Jeff Wagner Show. Now filling in for Jeff Wagner, here's Tracy Johnson.
2:08 on WTMJ. Just wrapping on this discussion about the electric vehicles, and should the government be building the infrastructure out, especially when we've seen that 25% or a quarter of the charging stations for electric vehicles that the government has installed don't actually work. We had a couple of great texts coming in from John in Muskego. He says, if the government is mandating that we all have electric vehicles, then yeah, the government should be building that infrastructure. But I just worry that we're missing out on the quality product because we don't have the competition of private industry that's pushing this infrastructure to be better. Right now, Tesla, who is arguably subsidized by the government, we all know that Tesla as a company and Tesla technology is subsidized. Their product is almost always works. But that is a private entity. That is a private company. And so is there a better way to get at a successful technology? Another point that was made from the 262 is about the technology. And will it actually be outdated? By the time we build out this national network, will we be actually onto a new preferred fuel, a hydrogen fuel, by that time? And so all these stagnant and stationary technologies and these charging stations, what's the future? What is the upkeep like? What is the modernization like? And admittedly, gas stations have been gas stations since a long time ago. So there isn't a lot of technology and a lot of evolution there. But we have this opportunity, if we're investing billions and billions and billions of dollars into this new infrastructure, to at least get it right. And on this topic of electric vehicles, I wanted to bring this up last time I was on in August. I had just come back from a trip where I was traveling. I was on the East Coast to Rhode Island. I had never been to Rhode Island, and I took a plane there, and I had to rent a car. I had to rent a car and go to the wedding site and go to the hotel, and there were a couple other events related to this wedding that I had to take care of. And I went online to rent the car, and I noticed, I typed in the airport that I was going to, I typed in the location and all that. And I noticed that page after page of available cars were electric vehicles. They weren't hybrid vehicles. They were straight up electric vehicles. I could even rent a Tesla. And it was funny because it was only like $40 a day, which compared to the standard SUV, the combustion engine, gas-powered SUV, it was like $150 a day. So I was talking to my husband, I'm like, okay, should we do this? Should we take a test run on an electric vehicle? And I tried to call the airport. I tried to get a couple of details, like, okay, well, what is the charging station situation like? And if I run out of power, what's the fee? And, will you come and pick me up? And, at the end of the day, it was just too much risk. And I just wasn't ready to jump in and take that risk. But it did get me thinking that next time I travel, and I've been hearing about this, that electric vehicles are kind of the preferred vehicle for rentals. They're really trying to push this technology and expose consumers in these small little instances to this electric technology and get them used to electric vehicles. So next time I travel, I think I might give it a shot. And we'll see. We'll see. Because like we said earlier, this trend is not going away anytime soon. So I want to move now to this topic. And for those of you who are members of a homeowners association, I'm going to want you to weigh in on this. So a third of homeowners, according to a study of homeowners, either houses or condos, are in a homeowners association. So we're talking to a lot of people here. This, for those who aren't familiar, it's an association that's usually run by your neighbors, usually tasked with collecting fees and managing common areas, sometimes shared utilities or recreational facilities if they're for the common good of the homeowners in that particular subdivision. These HOAs can fine homeowners who don't follow the rules. I'm sure you've heard horror stories about people not cutting their grass, or they can actually call for liens if the fines and the fees are not paid. So a third of people, of homeowners or condo owners, that's a lot of people. And I was talking to my husband about this, and we're part of an HOA. I actually, in full disclosure, I'm on the board for my HOA. I must have missed a meeting at one point, and so they kind of checked that out, and they said, well, she can't show up at the meeting. We're going to put her in charge. So these governing bodies are actually not governed by any sort of national association or any state association, but they do vary by state and by subdivision. I'm sure you're all familiar. So in our particular subdivision, our HOA pays for the upkeep and the maintenance of a shared well, which is very common. It's not only the trees or maybe a common structure, but sometimes it's the water. And this was a deal that was put in place something like 40 years ago. We also oversee the architectural plans to make sure that people are using natural materials and they have the right paint color and all of that. It's meant to keep the look and feel of the subdivision consistent. And, according to this survey, even though this might sound tedious to those who are not part of HOAs, or maybe those who are part of horrifying HOAs, most of the people who are part of an HOA actually appreciate it, because they don't have to deal with all the rules. If they know that if they're investing in their home, which is their primary asset, that there is a body in place that will make sure that the integrity of the surrounding houses in the subdivision are kept in good order. And so that brings me to this story out of Atlanta, Georgia. Beth Williams is a homeowner in the Cottage Grove subdivision. She fell behind on her HOA dues when she was diagnosed with chronic kidney failure. And in Beth's particular subdivision, she did not pay her fee, her annual homeowner's fee, and she did not pay any of the fines that had been accruing. And so her water supply was cut off for 31 days, which was forced her to survive using store-bought gallons of water, I'm reading from the article here, and a water dispenser that was given to her. She said, I had to be humiliated and ask people to borrow showers and to borrow washing machines and to wash my clothes, she said. So this was definitely causing pain for this woman who was already going through kidney failure. So she said that she thought she owed the Cottage Cove HOA $713 in dues, $120 in late fees. But once they turned her account over to collections, that amount grew. An attorney fee of $2,300 was added, $1,500 was added in collection fees, and her overall balance jumped to $4,000 from $713. Then she goes on to say that she went to pay her dues and she was blocked out of the portal because this matter was turned over to the attorneys. So in the covenant that she signed when she bought the home, it does clearly say that the water distribution system in the community is private and shall be owned and maintained by the association as common property, and that if the homeowner does not pay their dues, the board may suspend voting rights, common property use rights, and the association provided services to the lot. And so this woman has come to the table and she said, wait a minute, I can't even get ahead here. I want to pay my dues. I'm sorry I was going through kidney dialysis and failure and treatment. Can you give me a break here? So does she deserve the break? I mean, HOAs, where do you draw the line? I mean, it sounds like this HOA tried to work with her, tried to recover this money, and perhaps there was no response. But is this the right thing to do? And should she just pay the $4,000 and move on? 855-616-1620 on the Old National Bank talk and text line. You know, it does beg the broader question, though, is, you know, do these HOAs have too much authority? Because if she right now, and I haven't checked in to see if she actually had her water turned back on, but I mean, this is a real issue. If these HOAs have the power to turn off people's water, or could they cut off someone's electricity? I mean, this goes beyond complaining about your grass being too long, or this goes beyond telling somebody that they can't put that sign in their front yard. So do the HOAs have too much authority? 855-616-1620 on the Old National Bank talk and text line. Your response, my reaction when we return.
Be our eyes on the road. See something out there that I should know about?
Hi, there is an accident on I-43 northbound.
Call me, Debbie Lazaga, at the hallmazda.com traffic tip line at 414-238-9329.
Hi, Debbie. It's Michael. Just drove through the area of 894 West. There's debris in the roadway.
The drive affects you. Why not be part of it?
I'm sitting here at I-43 north of Silver Spring. It's a parking lot.
Give me a call, 414-238-9329.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why.
Because our way works great for us.
But it may not work for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, obligated to put clients first. It's the highest standard for a financial advisor.
So, what do you provide? Cookie-cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie-cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
But you do sell investments that earn you high commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when our clients do better. When it comes to helping clients achieve a comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Welcome back on WTMJ 220 on this beautiful Monday morning. Afternoon. Where am I? Sorry, this time flies. With Samantha in the producer's booth. We're just having a blast even in between these breaks. So this is a ton of fun. Thanks for being with us today. So homeowners associations. I'm going to presume that at least a quarter of you listening are members of a homeowners association. This is the association that you are a member of if you live in a commercial or a homeowner, like a subdivision or a condo. And there was a case, kind of a horror story out of Atlanta, Georgia, where a woman who was undergoing treatment for kidney failure didn't pay her fee, her homeowner's fee, her annual fee, and that led to a fine, a late fee. And then it came to, like, she got turned over to collections, and there were attorney's fees, and now she owes $4,000. And the HOA cut off her water. They said, you know what? Those are the rules. You moved into this subdivision knowing full well what you were getting into, and I'm sorry, but you missed the deadline. We tried to reach you. We tried to get you to pay, and, you know, I'm sorry. Is this fair to all the other homeowners? 855-616-1620 is the Old National Bank talk and text line. But do these HOAs have too much power? And in the research that has been done, in surveys that have been done, I'm looking at one right now, the HOAs, Homeowners Association, more than half of the people living in them say they're glad that they do. They're glad that they don't have to deal with the common area maintenance. They're glad that they get to live in a subdivision that has these architectural standards because it enhances the value of their own home. And they want to maintain that. But when one person doesn't follow the rules, the expectation is that these HOAs will fine them. Or if they need to put a lien on their home. I know as I work in the HOA as the president of the HOA, and we had to deal with this one time when one of the homeowners didn't make an update that they were supposed to make. And when they were looking to move out of the subdivision, we pulled up that note and we said, hey, listen, I understand that you're selling your house. We really want to help you out. We want to transfer the title, but we kind of have this note on here that's holding things up. So you need to perform that work. Now, that's not putting a lien on it, but these HOAs can certainly and definitely have the ability to do that. But do these HOAs just generally have too much power? Or should some of these matters, like cutting off people's water, be off the table? Jim in Wauwatosa, you're on WTMJ.
Hi, good afternoon. I just listening to the discussion regarding cutting off the lady's water. For sure, that's way too harsh. It's a basic human need, and I've got a little experience with paying for water and also having private wells. And as a renter at one point, I did not get charged for water. So I was wondering, first of all, how does the HOA have the authority to cut someone's water? It's not like taking away their parking space or privilege or some other type. I mean, it's a basic human need. I can't even imagine being on that board and voting for something like that.
Yeah. Jim, thanks for the call. I think he brings up a good point. And it says in the document, and I think it's a really important or an important matter because it does sound really extreme, and it's almost like, how does anybody have that authority? But it sounds like the water distribution system that this community uses is by definition common property. And as I mentioned kind of in the beginning, I can relate to this because in our subdivision, we actually pay for the maintenance and upkeep and testing of a private well. Now, our HOA doesn't have the ability to cut an individual person's water off, but I'm sure that there are systems that can, especially as, water is a chargeable amenity. But yeah, so we have a bunch of other texts to get to, but generally, if you want to weigh in on HOAs having too much power, I think we could do a whole show on HOA horror stories, though, judging by these texts. Feel free to weigh in 855-616-1620. That is the Old National Bank talk and text line 225. I'm Tracy Johnson in for Jeff Wagner.
Hey, Wisconsin, winter is right around the corner. Get your house ready before the cold hits. WTMJ's Jeff Wagner here for Wagner's Home Improvement Showcase, brought to you by senior real estate specialists Bruce and Jean Nemovitz, Hair Construction, Current Electric, Outdoor Living Unlimited, and Kohler Services. Join us every week to discuss ways to weatherproof your home here on News Radio 620 WTMJ. If you can't catch us live, visit Wagner's Home Improvement Showcase under Features on WTMJ.com.
So if our mom was looking for a new sofa, what are the top things that you would recommend that she look for in a new sofa?
Ben and Arvid from Penny Mustard Furnishings.
Kid and pet friendly fabrics. Sure. Eliminate spill problems, clean it up. I would say quality foam and made in the USA. We make fantastic sofas in the United States. We always have and we always will. It's an easy way to sort poor quality from good quality.
See more at pennymustard.com.
Did I mention quality foam? I think you did. Okay, good. That's an important one. That's very important to me anyway. And it would be to mom.
Russ bought his first home in Wisconsin with a mortgage from AccuNet when today's college freshmen were still in diapers. A few Friday mornings ago, Russ emailed saying he and his wife were ready to buy their forever home. And by 4 o'clock, we were all on a conference call with their real estate agent talking about what it would take to write a winning offer in today's inventory-starved market. And then it happened. They met their dream home face-to-face Saturday afternoon and wrote an offer $15,000 over asking, accompanied by an AccuNet property-specific pre-approval letter that guaranteed they could make good on extend that offer without selling their existing home first and without requiring an appraisal. That's right, no appraisal required, which both the listing agent and seller loved. I can't promise your very first offer will be accepted like Russ and Julie's, but I will promise Accunet can help you and your agent craft the most attractive offer possible. Hey, don't settle for a flimsy, unimaginative bank pre-approval. Get started with your rock-solid, guaranteed pre-approval by clicking on the blue button today at accunet.com.
WTMJ's Vince Vitrano here. Would you like your employees to be better leaders, improved critical thinkers, and become more self-aware? LAK Group's coaching services can help. Their coaching has led to impressive, sustainable organizational change, and it's founded on the International Coaching Federation's core principles, aligning individual performance to the needs of your company. Find out how LAK Group's coaching can help you. Visit transformingcareers.com. LAK Group. Discover your human advantage.
Last week, we got news of over 900 apartments being built in and around Mayfair Mall, by the Boston store at Mayfair Mall. So Mayfair is, of course, located in Wauwatosa, which is a hotbed for development, commercial, residential, and otherwise. It is just growing by leaps and bounds right now. Something like 48,000 people live there, and the population is expected to grow, especially with the introduction and announcement of these 900 or so apartments that developer Rick Barrett and Tan Lo want to put on the parking lot outside of the Boston store. And as somebody who is in commercial real estate and, works with these municipalities, I think this is a great idea. We saw the drawings released last week for these 14, 15-story residential apartment units that would be really surrounding the south end of the mall, kind of by the Boston store. It wouldn't be in the Boston store. It would be around the Boston store. And really in a way to help continue to support the vibrancy of that mall. So that mall is the largest taxpayer for the city of Wauwatosa, or one of the largest taxpayers for the city of Wauwatosa. And with kind of the transition of shoppers away from a traditional mall, we're seeing stores possibly close. We are seeing stores open, but there are a lot of eyes on what's happening in and around that mall. And I think that if city leaders, those in Wauwatosa, and developers can see that opportunity in Wauwatosa to really bolster that area, it's a really wise investment and a smart time to really have that discussion. So they're looking to build 900 or so units. This is in addition to something like 250 units that was announced in West Dallas just last week. So lots of apartments coming online. I think it speaks volumes to the fact that we're really stepping up our game as a region to try to attract and retain all these young people and the talent so close to the city of Milwaukee, in great proximity to jobs in Waukesha and the surrounding region. And I think it's a great testament. I hope that this moves through. There are some potential sticking points because there is a TIF involved, tax increment financing, which is a very complicated tool that developers use and municipalities use to try to attract development. But watch that area. Not only are we talking about the apartments, but what does the investment in the infrastructure look like? The roads, the schools, the technology that's going to be needed to really support that area. Right now, I think it's very congested. It's very difficult to maneuver, especially with all the road construction right now. But in terms of having a vision, I think many of the leaders that work with the city of Wauwatosa really get it and really want to strike on the opportunity that they have with the freeway, so close proximity to the freeway, such close proximity to downtown, the medical college, all of these jobs and all these great office properties to house these incredible workers. When we come back, speaking of incredible workers, or speaking of workers, the United Auto Workers are on strike. And there is a fascinating twist that I haven't heard talked about lately. And it's about what the manufacturers, what GM, Ford, and Stellantis are doing to potentially strike back. More when we return. It's 2:31 on WTMJ.
What's the way to build your wealth?
I want to talk about annuities and variable life insurance policies. And I'm going to come right out and say that I've never been a fan of either. In fact, in over 30 years, I have rarely recommended annuities to clients. And in that same time, I've never recommended a variable life insurance policy. Now, it's always a matter of opinion, and there are two sides to every story. I just want to make sure that you've heard both sides for both options. So if you're looking at those types of products, give us a call, because it's prudent to hear all sides. At the very least, we can give you the pros and cons and help you make a good decision. I'm Jim Cantrell with Financial Strategies, Inc., a fee-only, comprehensive financial planning firm, and I believe we can show you a wiser way to build your wealth. So go to financialstrategiesinc.com and schedule a no-cost consultation.
Financial strategies, a wiser way to build your wealth.
Brighten up your Monday or your Tuesday with a free dinner at the Fox and Hounds. WTMJ's John Mercure here. I love the Fox and Hounds. Recently voted the best supper club in the area. When you buy one dinner, your second dinner is free. Order your favorite steak, the pecan-crusted salmon, seafood, pasta, big fresh salad, even steak and lobster. Get one free. Buy one, get one free. Desserts are also buy one, get one free. 100 wines, 20 bourbons, a Manhattan or old-fashioned with a great beer selection will accent your dinner. The Fox and Hounds, tucked right into the Kettle Moraine Forest. There's nothing else like it. Have a drink in the beer garden in the woods. I love the beer garden. It's beautiful. It's relaxing. The scenery is spectacular. Just off Highway 167, 2 miles east of the beautiful Holy Hill Shrine. As the seasons begin to change, the drive alone is gorgeous. A must-see for Southeast Wisconsin. Check it out. Enjoy a quiet, free dinner tonight at the Fox and Hounds. Tables still open. Come on in. No reservations required. One of my favorite places and recently voted the best supper club in the area. It's the Fox and Hounds. Reservations available at foxandhoundsrestaurant.com. It's the famous Fox and Hounds.
Welcome back on WTMJ. Final half hour of the show. Boy, this time flies when you're having fun. Thanks for being with us today. So last week, late last week, I should say Friday, the United Auto Workers Union, which is made up of 150,000 members. All right, this is a big deal, and we saw this coming. They started their selective strikes against the big three car manufacturers. That's GM, that's Ford, and that's Stellantis, who makes the Jeeps. And so they're being really strategic in how they're doing these selective strikes, calling off around 13,000 workers at these various firms. And the point is that they're trying to really cause some pain, right? They're trying to cause disruption in the chain. So they're not all just walking out at the same time. They're really trying to, create pain. And then also one of the things that I learned is that they're also trying to preserve their strike fund, because when the workers go out on strike, they get to draw from a fund so that they aren't left with $0. And so this preserves the fund while also inflicting harm and inflicting pain on the manufacturers. And when you dig into what they're really looking for, some of it is I think, crazy talk, but some of it makes sense, right? Unions exist to make sure that the working conditions are proper and that people are being taken care of and there's proper education. It shouldn't be just short-term benefit, but also long-term benefit. What does the future look like for these workers who are on the lines? And when they came to the table, they were looking for something like a 40% increase in pay. 40%. And this was to match what they claimed was what the CEO had made, what their increase had been over the last several years. And they said, hey, if the CEO gets a 40% raise, then we all should get a 40% raise. The other thing they want is a 32-hour work week for 40 hours of pay. All right. And a variety of other measures, including a promise that any production of electric vehicles would include union workers, which I think is an interesting one because they're at least acknowledging that these car manufacturers are investing in EV technology because of the huge push by the government and, just the way that things are going. And as we talked about earlier, the manufacture of these EV vehicles, I think, is the biggest threat to these union workers, because what I could see some of these manufacturers doing is just saying, okay, well, we're just going to lean into this. What we've learned is that the production of an EV vehicle actually takes less than half of the manpower that a combustion engine requires. And so from a production standpoint, the technology required for these car manufacturers is actually less. And so everybody's trying to maneuver this situation here, which has huge economic impact, right? I mean, we were just coming out of the supply chain issues, the pandemic, when the manufacturing was so disrupted and the cost of cars had increased so much. But what these manufacturers are doing, what these car manufacturers are doing right now, and I believe that they're showing that they have the upper hand here, is that they are laying off workers, proactively laying off the workers who aren't striking, and saying, well, you know what? There's such disruption in our production that, you know what? We have to proactively lay these people off. And oh, by the way, because we don't have a contract, we don't have to pay them. And so now the manufacturers are saying, okay, well, this is my card. If you're going to punish me, this is what I'm doing to your workers. And you hear some of the audio from the picket lines. And you hear from Sean Fain, who is the president of the United Auto Workers Union. And they are wholesale convinced that they have struck at exactly the right time with this strike. They feel that the public sentiment is actually so much in their favor, and that they are going to win this battle. And we didn't get here overnight. And there's so much back and forth, and there's so much that has been considered over time. But I just wonder if they're a little bit out of touch. You know, when the price of a car is out of reach for so many consumers, I just don't understand how they don't get that when you increase the cost of labor, that is going to be passed on to the consumer. Now, can you take it out of the CEO's salary? Yeah, fine. But that isn't going to decrease the cost to consumers. And I'm just not sure where this goes in terms of disruption for the marketplace. But I think there's a disconnect here. And it's a disconnect that I also see with the writer's strike. There's a lot of eerie similarities that I think are unfortunately a result of not coming to the table sooner. It's a result of not getting ahead of the evolving technology that's before us. So I'm not sure who's going to win this stalemate, the United Auto Workers or the car companies. But at the end, I will tell you who's going to lose. And that's you and me. We are all going to lose as a result of it, because the winds of change are upon us. Electric vehicles and the move away from these union shops is the way of the future. And I think that key point that these union workers want to make sure that electric vehicle manufacture is done with union labor is probably the last thing that these manufacturers will consider. So this will be interesting to see how it all evolves. I have worked with unions. I actually worked with unions for the first half of my career. I worked for associations that actually represented management at the table. And we never got to a place where we would consider a strike. I worked for some amazing leaders, and they weren't the UAW, and it wasn't the writers' union. But it's about negotiation, and it's about being realistic, and it's about looking at this as a win-win, not as a win-lose, which is kind of this aura that I get. This is the sense that I get from the folks who are engaging in this discussion. And maybe it's the fact that we have so much social media and we have so much media following every single step of what's happening. But if we're looking for a win-win here, I just am struggling to see what the answer is. So when we come back, I want to want to get into a little bit of what's happening with the writer's strike. And I'm sure there's some of you listening who are like, I forgot about that. And I think you're not alone. It's 2:41 right here on WTMJ.
Home is where the heart is. Family meals, laughter, and warm memories. As your local contractor that's been around for 40 years, J&J Contractors has been helping families create new memories for generations to come by reimagining your kitchen space for baking holiday cookies with the family or opening up your lower level for friend and neighbor entertainment. Whatever the project is, J&J Contractors does it with top-of-the-line craftsmanship. Just Google J&J Contractors to see their reviews for impeccable work and outstanding communication.
I'm Randy from All Right Home and Remodeling. You've likely seen your property value increase significantly in the past few years. If you're looking to leverage your home's equity with a HELOC, especially if you have a plan to stay in your home for your enjoyment, you may want to beautify your home's exterior. The ROI on new siding, roofing, and veneer can be some of the highest of all remodeling projects. Plus, there's great tax incentives too. Learn more at ALLRITE remodeling.com.
This week's Wagner's home improvement experts are the superheroes at Current Electric.
Hi folks, this is Hank Albert, owner of BBC Lighting. With shorter days in the forecast, brighten up now with top quality lighting and ceiling fans at unbeatable prices. At our award-winning showroom, you'll see our new display of Visual Comfort brand lighting along with their newest LED lights and ceiling fans. We carry every major brand, and our prices are the lowest. I guarantee it. If it's lampshades or repairs you need, we do all that too. There's something for everyone at BBC, including fun for the kids and our famous free popcorn. BBC is open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 and on Saturdays from 10 to 4. We're located at 20th and St. Paul Avenue, across from Sobelman's and Bachman Furniture, all near the Potawatomi Casino. Stay safe and healthy, my friends.
Talking about some of these strikes, I pulled an article from the Wall Street Journal. It said, with the auto workers union out on strike and the writers union out on strike, the U.S. lost 4.1 million days of work last month to strikes. And so I think, what we're seeing is a culmination of just the utter disconnect between workers and some of these big industries, like the manufacturing, like the Writers Guild, and the outcome of both of these these deals, I think, are going to be record-setting, and I think they're going to set the new course for the future. And I just want to respond. There was one person who chimed in being anti-union, and I think, as I stated, I worked for 2 union entities and had nothing but great experiences, nothing like what we're seeing with the UAW or with the writer's strike. But it does bring me to this point, and it's an article that dropped on Friday that highlights one of the writers who has said, you know what? The strike is a strike, and I believe that the writers deserve more, and I support the writers. But there are so many other people who are impacted as a result of the writers holding this industry hostage. I don't know if you're familiar with Bill Maher. He hosts a late night show called Real Time. And he is the first late night show host to say, you know what? We got to think about all the people who are on this set. I will acknowledge right now that my content, my monologue, my show is not going to be as good as it will be with a writer. But this thing has gone on too long, and there are too many other people suffering. There are too many people suffering as a result of this writer's strike. And I think that's the point that a lot of people haven't talked about, is what is the broader economic impact, and what does that look like when you consider that you've got a whole economy that's, relying on people to come to the table in good faith and not only negotiate a deal, but negotiate a deal that sets the course for stability in the future. If a writer wants to, to prohibit a studio from working with streaming services or somehow encumber that or require that they're paid a certain amount for, for reruns, have those discussions. But I think some of the sticking points are just unrealistic and uneconomical. And what actors like Bill Maher are showing is that, we have to be realistic here and we have to move on beyond this. And he did an interview with Jim Gaffigan last week where he said the writers, struck at just the wrong time. They have no leverage. Anyone who is watching TV, have they even noticed the difference? Has it affected the person down the pipeline? I don't think so. I haven't noticed the difference. And hey, I watch TV. I haven't noticed the difference. Hey, if you have Jimmy Fallon interviewing Taylor Swift, I don't know if that happened yesterday or if that happened 3 months ago. I don't care. And I think what's happening is that the world is moving on. It reminds me of COVID. During COVID, we just got used to working from home. We just got used to bringing our own towel to the gym. We just got used to certain things and you just move on. When you don't have access to it over a certain period of time, you just simply move on. And I think that's what's happening with this writer strike is many of these people are just becoming irrelevant, unfortunately. And I am not against these writers, and I am not against talented artists and good people making a fair wage. But what I am against, and I think many of the writers should be upset about this too, is when you have the wrong people at the negotiating table that are trying to negotiate the wrong terms of the deal. You're going to have to give a little if you're going to take. But right now, time is going to make you irrelevant. And so Bill Maher, he's going to be picketed, and I don't think he cares. He says in his statement, I understand and I appreciate these writers, but I've got a lot of other people to think about. You saw Drew Barrymore. I was talking to Samantha about this earlier. Drew Barrymore, who also has a talk show that I think it's brand new. She was going to launch it, and she was all ready to launch it, and then the writers were picketing her, and she said, you know what, I stand in solidarity. And you're seeing a lot of this being tested. Now, what about all those people on the set who are not part of the writers union, who are not part of the Writers Guild? Where do they go? And what is their source of income? And so I think Bill Maher is the first one. He's the canary in the coal mine here. And I think that we're going to see others who follow suit. And, they should be worried about what the consumer thinks, what the people like me think, the people who are paying the bills, what they think. And are we going to have to be in a position where we're comparing the product at the end of the day? And are we going to notice a difference? I'm not sure. And so this is certainly one that we have to follow. And what are we going to learn from the writer's strike? And what are we going to learn from the auto workers strike? The auto workers strike has extreme economic implications, not just locally, not just nationally, but worldwide in terms of supply chain. And so, obviously we all hope for a speedy resolution. I think they're estimating that if it goes on for a week, there's going to be, hundreds of millions of economic impact. If it goes for 10 days, that number jumps. But at what point are these manufacturers who are beholden to their stakeholders going to start to look at other options, be creative, get into the new way of thinking? Because this win-lose scenario just doesn't work for any of us. When we come back, we'll see what John has on Wisconsin Afternoon News. It's 2:51. I'm Tracy Johnson in for Jeff Wagner.
There's no better green and gold insider than from the man who wore the green and gold himself. Bart Tauscher.
The thing you hear all through training camp, if you're an undrafted free agent or a late pick, is, hey, you're trying out for our team, but you're also putting film up there for the other 31.
Bart Tauscher is our green and gold insider every Wednesday at 4:15 on Wisconsin's Afternoon News.
I like his moxie. You know what? We're going to keep him on the 53.
Presented by your Wisconsin Chevy dealers.
Hey, it's 620 WTMJ's Brian Z. Football, family, back to school. Can you believe it? Fall is already upon us. You're going to be out and about this fall season. Apple picking, tailgating. Make sure you have your best smile on display. Go see my guy, Dr. James Michaels at Oconomowoc Dental Care. Whether it's a simple cleaning and exam, a more complex dental procedure, a teeth whitening and implants, Dr. Michaels and the staff at Oconomowoc Dental Care are going to take great care of you and make you as comfortable as possible while you're in the chair. How do I know? He's my dentist. He's going to take the same great care of you as he does to me. And don't stress over cash. The friendly and caring team at Oconomowoc Dental Care can help you out with a no-interest payment plan. Get those pearly whites looking right as summer turns to fall. We all have to go to the dentist, so do not put it off 1 second longer. Call his friendly and caring team today and set up an appointment. Dr. James Michaels at Oconomowoc Dental Care.
Siding Unlimited named the best window installers, not just here, but in the whole USA. Get the best. Siding Unlimited, 3-time winner as America's best window installer. For windows, you call Siding Unlimited first and directly. SidingUnlimited.com.
Hi, this is Wayne Larrabee, the voice of Green Bay football. You know, fans count on me to make the right call every time, and I can continue to do that thanks to Summit Eye Care of Wisconsin. When my vision began to drift, my eye doctor said Summit Eye Care was the best place to go. Using the latest adjustable implants, the doctors at Summit were able to fine-tune my vision. In fact, my vision is now the best it's ever been. Summit Eye Care was the right call to help me see all the action on game days.
To schedule an appointment at one of their locations, visit summitiwi.com.
Good Karma Brands is proud to be an equal opportunity employer. Our policy is to provide equal opportunity employment, development, and advancement to all current and potential teammates. If you are an organization that maintains a job bank, provides employment information, or gives job referrals, you may request to be placed on the station's mailing list for future career opportunities. To learn more about careers at Good Karma Brands, please email careers@goodkarmabrands.com.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
Welcome back on WTMJ. We're not going to do crosstalk with John because John's not here today. It's going to be Vince and Mike Spalding after 3 o'clock. But that gives me a chance to end on a high note. I know we covered a lot of important ground today. We're talking about electric vehicles. We talked about the second presidential debate. We talked a lot about Brewers funding in the first segment of the show. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more developing throughout the day on that matter. But kind of bringing it home here in my world of commercial real estate, we always answer the question about work from home and, you know, what's going on with remote work and when is this going to settle out and when is everyone going to be back and when is it going to be back to normal? Well, the truth is, and it's been published in Axios and in other places, that we have kind of hit a point of certainty and of stagnation in terms of determining what percentage of the workers are going to be working from home. You know, during the pandemic, it was something like 70% of workers were working from home. And then people came back, people found it necessary to work within the office. And then it's kind of fluctuated for the last couple of years. And this research that was published in Axios found that right now, it is looming around 15% of workers that have worked from home this year. And that number is important because it's the same number as last year. The percentage of workers that were working from home in 2022 at this time was 15%. Now, some of the biggest cities are going to throw off those numbers. Washington, D.C. is one where something like 30% of people work from home. Boulder, Colorado, that's much higher. Portland, a third of the workers work from home. But these numbers are flattening out. And I think this is really good news. And this is really good news for cities like Milwaukee, because you can start to put in place plans that depend on the answer to that question. How many people are working in the office, and what is the status of remote work? And are the numbers of people coming downtown, coming to the office, is that going to change? And if so, we need to plan appropriately. But if not, let's deal with what we've got. We've got some empty office buildings. We've got some vacancy that we can convert into housing or convert into a higher and a better use. And I think this is great news for municipalities. This is great news for cities like Milwaukee, because we can start to make plans, and we can start to move forward, and we can start to really envision what the future looks like. There's, anytime there's uncertainty and anytime you have questions about what your future looks like, you aren't going to move forward. You're going to kind of go forward with a little bit of hesitancy. But I think it's important and it's imperative that, especially in the city of Milwaukee, that we continue to be bullish on the prospects for development, for the prospects in commercial real estate. We have this number, 15% working from home. Okay, that doesn't mean they're permanently working from home. That means that they're working from home or they're hybrid some of the time. And how do we work with that and move forward? This is such an important investment for our city, for our state. And I believe in our leaders. I think we've seen great leadership so far around these lines. We've got the conversion of 411. We've got the investment in companies like Milwaukee Tool, Northwestern Mutual, and Barrett. Think it's a bright day, and this is great news to end the show. It's 2:58. I'm Tracy Johnson. Jeff Wagner is back tomorrow. Thanks so much for being with us. Have a great day, everyone.
Having pain like that and not knowing how you caused it and for how long it's lasting, it's debilitating.
QC Kinetics patient Diane Richardson hated not being able to live her life to the fullest due to joint pain. But then she called QC Kinetics, where regenerative treatments helped her pain go away.
The result was phenomenal.
QC Kinetics